I didn't just go red, my face exploded. When I got on the plane to go home, they almost wouldn't let me on because I looked like Elephant Man.
Good morning, I'm Mike Graham, he's Mike Parry, you're listening to the Two Mikes on Talk Sport. The doubters are out in force this morning despite winning 13 games in a row. Antonio Conte is apparently no longer a genius. Chelsea is still 5 points clear of their nearest challenger, 7 points clear of the team that beat them last night, and 10 points clear of Manchester United, who some are saying could now win the title. Has the world gone mad? We'll be talking to Grammy Award-winning producer and massive Chelsea fan Steve Lillywhite. 08717 22 3344. Also coming up on the show is Postman Pork, where Mr Parry opens up his heaving mailbag live on air. Plus we've got former England goalkeeper David James coming on, well ahead of the FA Cup this weekend. You're listening to the Two Mikes with me, Mike Graham, and Mike Parry on Talk Sport. This is Talk Sport. We are the Two Mikes. Chelsea have finally lost a game, and it's time to say a very, very good morning to Mr. Mike, a Porky, a Parry. Very good morning to you, Mr. Parry.
Well, a very good morning to you as well, Mike, and I hope you're not putting me in the classification of those doubters who say it's all going to go wrong from Chelsea.
Well, of course I am. You're one of those people who's been banging on this morning about how useless they've become now and how they haven't really beaten anybody decent and how suddenly now they've been exposed as a sort of myth of a football club and that Antonio Conte is not the genius everyone thought he was.
999.
Oh, so you're saying they're still going to win the league?
No, I'm not saying they're still going to win the league. I'm saying that it's now opened up dramatically. I would say dramatically.
Really. Did you hear what I just said? They're still 5 points clear of their nearest rivals.
And what's 5 points at this time of the season?
It happens to be Liverpool, right? They're 7 points clear of the team that beat them last night, who are Spurs. They're 10 points clear of Manchester United, who unbelievably Graham Souness still thinks could win the title.
Yeah, well, he knows a lot more about football than you do.
Well, he does. I wouldn't ever doubt that. But that doesn't mean that he's always right, does it?
Well, it doesn't.
I got it wrong last night. I thought Chelsea were going to win the game.
Yeah. Well, I didn't. You see, I predicted a Spurs victory. If you
well, you didn't actually. What you did say was that when I said I don't think anyone really believes Chelsea won't win tonight, you said no, I don't think that's true. No, you did not predict a Spurs victory.
Well, I think you'll find I did actually.
Well, would you like us to search for the audio in which you said Spurs will win tonight?
It might not have been on this medium. It might have been in another medium.
When you're talking to yourself on the way home?
Oh, I don't think so. I think when I was advising other people about the way the game was going to go. Yeah. However, what you do have to say is when you look at the list of teams that Chelsea have beaten in their 13 victories, right?
Yeah.
I'll just run through them.
Go on.
Stoke, Bournemouth, Palace.
Yeah.
Sunderland. West Brom. OK. Now, a terrific victory away at Manchester City, 3-1. No problem with that. That was on the 3rd of December, OK?
Yeah.
But a Manchester City team that were faltering, OK? They then...
So you're saying Bournemouth aren't a good team? You mean the team that went 3-0 up against Arsenal and Arsenal couldn't beat? The team that that Liverpool couldn't beat, in fact, beat Liverpool?
Bournemouth are not a top 4 team. Everybody knows that. They then went to Middlesbrough. They won there. Now, Everton had an off day and they trounced them, I'm afraid to have to say.
That was the 5-0, wasn't it? You were at that game, weren't you?
What?
Were you at that game, weren't you?
Yes. And,
did you stay till the end?
Nearly.
Nearly,
but it was very painful.
That's a no, then.
And then the last two before Spurs beat them, Leicester, who can't beat anybody these days, and Hull, who lost their manager on the same day. So, all I'm saying is, look...
What do you mean the last two before Spurs beat them?
Yes.
The last two before Spurs beat them were Stoke and Bournemouth.
Sorry, I'm going out.
The first two. You can't even read a list the right way.
The last two, Stoke and Bournemouth, neither of whom are really going to set the Premier League on fire.
Yeah, but Stoke have had some good results this season, as have Bournemouth. And don't forget, Bournemouth beat Chelsea last year at Stamford Bridge.
Yeah, okay.
So I think, as you know, you cannot just dismiss any team in the Premier League because there's been so many amazing results this year.
Anyway, the point is, what I was most impressed about last night was Spurs, their form.
Chelsea were terrible, though.
Dele Alli, no, they weren't terrible.
They were terrible. No. I mean, both goals, Dele Alli wasn't even marked.
Listen, I don't care.
He wasn't even marked.
That's because of what an outstanding player Dele Alli is.
No, there was no marking.
Without a shadow of a doubt, is now one of the world's best footballers. Without a shadow of a doubt.
Is he going to go to Real Madrid then?
Well, I've no idea, and that's for another day and another conversation.
Well, no, it isn't actually. Because Real Madrid have got a bit of a habit of stealing Tottenham's best players. They've already had Modric. They've already had Gareth Bale. We already know they're interested in Dele Alli.
Dele Alli last night proved that what an all-round and complete footballer he is, because to score two fantastic goals with your head, the game after you scored two fantastic goals with your feet.
He was unchallenged in the air, don't forget.
Yeah, but that's because he's such an exceptional player in finding space for himself, rising above defenders and putting the ball exactly where it needs to go.
If you watch the second goal, right, he actually, all he does is he runs, but he's behind the Chelsea defender.
You see, you keep saying all he does. He gets himself into position.
Look, I'm saying he's a great player, but what I'm saying is that at that particular, the second goal, he's running with the Chelsea defender who's in front of him. He then stops and runs the other way. The Chelsea defender keeps going. So therefore, when the ball comes to him, there's nobody on him.
But that's a very clever footballer.
Yeah, but if you're a defender, surely you should be behind him.
Well, you keep making excuses for defenders instead of
I don't think any
concentrating.
Chelsea fan watching that game will wonder what on earth was going on. A lot of Chelsea fans I know were saying it's just a bad day at the office. They just didn't play very well.
I don't agree. You've got to concentrate on the brilliance of Dele Alli, and also he and Eriksen must have worked out some method of getting a ball across into the penalty area for him to rise up to, because he did it twice, and he was brilliant.
Well, in terms of the tactics that Pochettino used, he obviously got the measure of Conte. Yeah, I mean, it was an incredibly bad performance from Chelsea. You'd have to admit that.
You can't say that. Bad performances can come through the fact that the opposition are so superior to you on the night and so much better, and that's exactly what happened last night. Spurs looked like a team who are a very, very serious contender for the Premiership title this season, and I thought they reduced Chelsea.
Well, they were very serious contenders for the Premier League title last season.
To a men and boys situation.
I mean, they were very serious contenders for the Premier League title last season.
Certainly were,
and they didn't even end up second.
Well, they didn't manage to take it over the line, but whether or not they've learned from their mistakes last season.
What is different?
They might have learned from their experiences last year. They hadn't been pursuing a Premier League title ever since the Premier League started until last season. In reality, now in reality they are. So maybe they'll have learned something from it.
Well, if you look at the Premier League form table, right, you'll see Manchester United on the top of it, having played the last 6 games and won all of them, right? Tottenham are second to them, having won, I think, almost all of them. Then you've got Chelsea, Liverpool, Manchester City, Everton. Everton actually above Arsenal. Everton in 6th place.
Yeah.
It's as good as it's going to get, I think.
Well, you don't know that, do you? But, yes, the Manchester United scenario, very interesting indeed. You say Graham Souness says that. But the fact that Tottenham Hotspur are now the second most informed team, if it hadn't been for the fact they've drawn so many games, instead of, because they've only lost 2, haven't they, all season?
All season,
and they're not beaten at home, are they?
No, don't think so.
I don't think Spurs have been beaten at home. So,
well, I mean, they had the best defensive record in the Premier League up until relatively recently.
That's right. So you have to say Spurs are now a major contender.
But I think it's nonsense to say that just because Chelsea have lost one game out of 14, after having won the previous 30, that somehow now they're going to be wobbling, that somehow now their confidence is going to be blown. I don't agree with that.
Do you know
I think Chelsea is still very much in the driving seat. 5 points clear of Liverpool, 7 points clear of Spurs, 10 points clear of Man United. I don't really see anybody else taking it on.
The proof is in the pudding.
The proof, of course, is in the pudding.
And the point is that Chelsea now haven't got an opportunity to correct that in the Premier League arena.
Well, because it's the FA Cup weekend.
Of course, absolutely.
Well, that's even better then, isn't it?
No, it's not.
Because it means they've got a week off and they can come back as stronger than ever.
No, when you get knocked down, you've got to get up again and never get knocked down again. And they haven't got the opportunity to do that.
What was the name of the band that wrote that song?
Chumbawamba.
Chumbawamba,
that's the one. Yeah,
I like we want to hear from some fans out there, because there must be Chelsea fans out there who are a little bit upset about it all, but not necessarily distraught. There must be Spurs fans who know that just because they beat Chelsea, they're not going to win the league. 08717 22 3344 is the number. We're going to talk to Steve Lillywhite coming up next. He's a big Chelsea fan. He supported them for many a decade. He's also a fantastically talented record producer who's won a bunch of
quite
Grammys
successful,
with
isn't he?
you too. Very successful indeed.
He's won the odd gong here or there.
He has won the odd gong, yes, unlike your good self. Like that song, Mr. Parry?
Indeed, I do.
Yeah, this is one of the many Grammy Award-winning songs that was produced by Mr. Steve Lillywhite. He's U2's producer.
Excuse me, Steve Lillywhite, CBE, you mean?
Steve Lillywhite, CBE, yes,
Services
indeed. I mean, I know you love all that sort of stuff, the gongs and everything else.
Yeah.
I'm not so keen. But yeah, fantastic record producer, 6 Grammys. That one for Record of the Year, It's a Beautiful Day. He's also worked with Peter Gabriel, of course, Talking Heads, Siouxsie the Banshees, the Psychedelic Furs.
That's right.
Joan Armour, Trading. I mean, the list goes on and on.
Back
Rolling
on
Stones.
The road
Please
to
don't sing.
nowhere.
Yeah, well, that's where you are. And that's where I'd like to send you. Anyway, Steve is on. Steve, a very good morning to you.
Good morning to you, boys. Good morning.
Now,
well, not such a great
not such a beautiful day if you're a Chelsea fan, of course, because it all went a bit wrong.
It's not.
What went wrong?
It went a bit pear-shaped. I think we were just outmanoeuvred. I mean, to be honest, let's get this in perspective. Spurs are a great team, and it was such a fast match. When you see those guys running around, it really made most of the other teams in the Premier League seem so slow. So, I think you can absolutely guarantee that Chelsea, Spurs, and Liverpool are going to be in the Champions League next season. I would think those three you can guarantee. And then it's one out of Man United, Man City or Arsenal.
Mm-hmm. And which one of those do you think is the least likely? Because, I mean, I'm wondering if it's Manchester United are on a bit of a run and Arsenal are on a bit of a run in the opposite direction. It might be Arsenal that finally drop out.
Yeah, we need two to drop out. It's Arsenal and Man City, because I think Guardiola does not like the goldfish bowl that is the Premier League.
You seem to be talking about anything except Chelsea at the moment, Steve, you know. Hey.
Well, yes, you're right. But no, we were beaten. We were beaten soundly. And, you know, if it was closed, I might be a little bit more upset. But to be honest, you know, we didn't really turn up. And I think teams are starting to learn how we're playing.
I mean, it was the case that Conte was beginning to look like a bit of a tactical genius, and everyone was talking about how he was able to roll over teams. Mike Parry's been telling me right now that the 13 games in a row that they won were not really against anybody massive. But he's wrong, as usual.
Haven't you? One of the Man City, Man United, Spurs. You know, tell me a bigger teams than those.
Yeah, but they all had flaws in their own rights on the days you played them, to be honest. And look, Chelsea have done brilliantly well, no problem at all. The one thing that nobody's accepting this morning, Steve, is that Dele Alli is emerging as one of the world's great footballers. And if you're playing against a team in which he's performing, you've got a problem.
Oh, I absolutely agree, and this is great news for England.
Yes.
In fact, the whole Spurs team is great news for England. You know, with the likes of Danny Rose,
Dyer.
Dyer, and the other wing back on the other side.
Yeah, absolutely.
Danny Rose. Yes, they're really great team, and look. We love any time the Manchester clubs are pushed backwards. That's good for me.
Oh, dear. Yeah, a bit of north-south.
Well, there's a bit of a north-south divide. Well, you wouldn't understand that, Porky, because Porky's very confused about the north-south divide because he pretends to be from the north, but he actually chooses to live in what he regards as stockbroker belt Surrey.
Yeah, well,
so,
nothing wrong with that.
He's a sort of inverted snob. Yeah. But, I mean, seriously, those two goals last night, there was no defending from Chelsea. I don't know what was going on.
No, I think if we have to do anything in the window, I think we have to just get someone a little bit taller on, I can't wait for Zuma to come back, actually. Zuma was our big hope before he got injured last season. Yeah. And I think he will slot into this team. He's the one person on the bench that I think will be good. But obviously Conte hasn't quite been convinced by him. So I think we will dip into the market.
If you do dip into the market, though, that might upset the rhythm that Chelsea have had. Rhythm obviously broken last night, but nevertheless, the biggest test now, Steve, is whether or not Chelsea can pick up where they left off before the Spurs defeat. That is the big test.
Well, look, the last time we were beaten was by Arsenal. What did we do? We picked ourselves up and we absolutely came back. This is we're just resetting it. Chelsea will be back. We will be one of the top four. And hopefully we're going to win the league. And I think Spurs are a great team, and I think Liverpool are a great team at the moment. I think Man United and Arsenal, I think, are in decline. As are Man City, they're very old squads, you know. So, and Mourinho is an cunning old fox. He will squeeze out those results. So maybe Man United are the fourth team.
Do you think Mourinho's got somebody kind of ringing up Pep Guardiola in the middle of the night just to wind him up at sort of 3 a.m? The phone goes and somebody puts it down again? Because it looks like somebody's doing that.
Yes, he's certainly starting to twitch, isn't he?
He is.
Guardiola is starting to twitch. He doesn't like it when it doesn't go his way.
Yeah,
you know?
he looks very odd. I mean, I don't know from your perspective, Steve, watching it where you are, but his actions on a number of TV interviews the other night, and then, you know, he was doing them for the written press as well. I think that guy's under enormous pressure, and I think he's kind of losing the plot. And the problem is, when you're a leader of men and you look like you're losing the plot, then the army that follows you is losing the plot. So I think they've got a problem.
Oh, Well, absolutely. When you look at Mourinho at Chelsea,
yes,
that was
absolutely
exactly
right. Absolutely right.
Exactly what happened. Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. If you can't lead from the front and the
are you just going to keep asking questions and then answering them yourself?
No, not at all. No. Why don't you ask a question of some
well,
relevance?
I mean, it'd be nice to hear what Steve has to say rather than just hear what you've got to say.
Well, if you had any sort of intelligence and insight into what's going on, right?
Well, you do know this weekend it is the FA Cup, of course. I mean, has Chelsea got any interest in that, do you think, this year, Steve?
Peterborough at home, I think we'll certainly get through this next round. I would like to see some young blood, playing. But maybe we'll see, because we've got no Champions League and we're out of the League Cup. So maybe this is a good thing.
Yeah, maybe it is.
Maybe we'll go there.
Now, what have you been up to of late? Because it's the 30th anniversary of the Joshua Tree coming up this year, which I know you didn't actually produce, but you've always been involved with U2. I certainly came in on the Joshua Tree when they were they were having problems. When they were trying to fix it.
I ended up. Yeah, I was a sort of a Red Adair on that album. I like to think of myself as the Red Adair of the Joshua Tree.
Right. Now, there's some kind of sort of anniversary stuff going on.
Yes, and I'm not giving away any secrets, of which I do know a few more, but by saying that there are some great celebrations planned this year for the Joshua Tree, and watch this space. There's going to be a lot of celebrating the Joshua Tree, and I think maybe some concerts that will be playing the Joshua Tree. Mm-hmm. But obviously, one concert, there's going to be a lot more than just playing the Joshua Tree. So
okay. Well, you'll have to keep us informed.
Celebration this year. Yes, I will absolutely keep you informed. And also, there's a new album that I've had some workings on, which is sounding very exciting. So,
is that songs of experience?
Songs of experience. If whether you like it or not, 2017 is going to be the year of U2.
Oh, is it?
That's interesting.
Well, that is very much something to look forward to.
Can you tell your good mate Bono, please, Steve, that and if he gives away anything less than £1 billion, on the 30th anniversary of the Joshua Tree, he's not.
Why are you so anti-Bono?
I'm not anti-Bono. I'm very pro-Bono. He's
pro-bono. That's what you should be doing.
Pro-bono. He's not really a philanthropist at all. You know what I mean?
Well, you know what? You don't read about a lot of the things that he does. Let me just tell you that.
Right. Yeah.
He's not one of the. You read about certain things Bono does, but behind the scenes he does a hell of a lot of work, and he doesn't ask for any thanks.
Yeah. He doesn't get any from Porky. Can you not send a couple of his security detail round to 18 Hatfields, where they're going to have to queue up behind Vinnie Jones, who's also waiting out here to smack Porky when he comes out?
It's a bit harsh.
Oh, yes.
No, but
it's going to be a great year.
I do understand what you're saying, Steve, because sadly George Michael, of course, passed away recently, and it was only when he did that we found out the extent of the charity work that he did behind the scenes, which he didn't want people to know about.
Absolutely. And I was a friend of George Michael since before he made a record with Wham. And, and I have to say, he was a lovely, lovely man, and he always took time out to say hello to me, even when he was like at the absolute top of the tree. He would see me in a party or something and come over and say hi. So he was, he was a great man. It was so sad, and Elton John tried his best to sort of help him and become and help him see the happy side of life, but for some reason George didn't want to change his lifestyle.
Yeah. It is a terrible shame, but I mean, I suppose whenever these things happen, I mean, I was hearing songs that I'd forgotten he'd even done, which in some ways was a great sort of tribute to him,
Yeah.
Yeah. No, he was. There was a period of about a year when he really was the biggest artist on the planet. I think it was just post Michael Jackson, and he was. And those records still sound great. As I say, not exactly my cup of tea, but you absolutely can respect his melody and his white soul boy thing.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, it was just the sheer energy of the video, Wake Me Up Before You Go, when you saw him bouncing left to right on that stage on top of the Pops, which just made everybody feel better, you know what I mean?
Absolutely, and all those crazy T-shirts. Do you remember that? The white T-shirts.
Exactly.
with a big. Oh my God!
Yeah, they were brilliant. Brilliant. Makes you feel old, doesn't it?
It does. Oh, it's fantastic.
Now, Steve, we'll be back to you when you can unveil a few more secrets to us, and perhaps once the FA Cup is over and done with, and Chelsea are maybe no longer top of the league. I can't see that happening. I still think they're odds on to win it.
Yeah, I think personally, I think we'll win it. We'll be close to it anyway. But I see three great teams: Liverpool, Chelsea, and Spurs battling it out. I don't see Man United don't have enough. They're too far to go. But Arsenal, I think Piers is right. I think he's been banging on about it for about 5 years. But,
he has indeed. Well, listen, Steve, enjoy the day. Thank you very much indeed. Steve Lillywhite there talking to us about Chelsea, about George Michael, about you two, a great many things. He thinks Manchester United and Manchester City are out of it. Yeah. He's drawn a north-south divide and said...
You didn't...
What?
You didn't ask Steve if you had a couple of free copies of the new LP.
I don't want a free copy of the new LP.
Why not?
Well, because I'll get it off Spotify.
Oh, okay. Well, I wouldn't mind one.
What do you mean you wouldn't mind one?
Well, you know.
You don't need a free copy of U2. You don't even like U2.
Well, I might like the new one. You know
might like it if it was free.
Well, I think it's worth listening to. Put it that way.
All right.
Okay?
Well, I'll see what I can do.
They're one of the world supergroups.
You keep insulting Bono, and somebody's going to be waiting for you outside.
Hey.
I'm telling you. This is Talk Sport. Richard said, could you please tell Steve from me the best album he ever produced was Talk, Talk, Talk by the Furs. Beautiful body of work. Yeah, the Psychedelic Furs, one of the great bands.
It certainly was.
One of the great albums as well.
And I see one of our regular correspondents, the bog cleaner from Pencorth.
Well, Derek.
Yeah, Derek says, Borgie seems to have forgotten that Chelsea stuffed Everton during their unbeaten run. Can I just tell you, Derek, that I never, ever blank out the bad bits of supporting Everton because the bad bits come with the good bits. It makes the good bits seem better. Yes, we did get hammered that day, but I think you'll find that by the time we get to the end of this season... we will be a very different.
And we'll be talking a bit later on, by the way, about the Everton AGM last night, where they talked an awful lot about the new stadium, new station. You weren't able to be there, unfortunately, because you had other things to do.
Well, how can I get up to an AGM at the Royal Philharmonic Hall in Liverpool last night and then get back for this morning?
Well, you finished work at 1 o'clock.
What do you expect me to do? Drive 5 hours each way?
You get a train.
Could have taken a helicopter.
You could have taken a train.
It's too expensive.
We're going to take a couple of calls in a moment. 08717 223344. Borgie thinks it's all over for Chelsea. I don't. Stuart is going to be coming on in a moment.
I have not even said that.
Wrong Star says, I agree, MG. Dele Alli is a heck of a player, but those were 2 sitters he put away. Everything he does gets overhyped lately. And CK says, Giroud scores with a scorpion kick and he's lucky. Dele scores a header and he's the best player in the world.
Well, I thought he brilliantly positioned himself on both occasions. He got between defenders. He got between defenders on both occasions.
They were so far away from him. Even you could have got between them. The point about it is that if you're an Arsenal fan now, you're going to be feeling very, very unhappy about that 3-3 draw with Bournemouth, because imagine where Arsenal could now be if that was the case.
No, it's absolutely true. And let's not forget that we are paying tribute to Vinnie Jones today. It's his 57th birthday, okay? Without a shadow of a doubt.
I think you're being very unkind to him.
I'm not. I think he'd admitted himself. He was, without a shadow of a doubt, the worst player ever to pull on a shirt as a professional footballer in the old First Division. Without a shadow of a doubt. He did brilliantly well to make a living as a professional football with zero talent.
Professional football. Well, I'll tell you what, I can bet you any money that there'll be loads of people out there who can name many, many worse players than Vinnie Jones.
No, I'm already getting messages from people saying, Mike, you're absolutely right. Saw Vinnie Jones play for various clubs he played for, and he was a horse, a donkey,
a horse,
a donkey.
What on earth are you talking about? Let's talk to Stuart, who's a Liverpool fan up in Edinburgh. Hi, Stuart.
Good morning, gents.
Yeah,
morning.
Hi, Stuart.
What would you like to say, Stuart?
No, I was just listening to you discussing the game last night. Obviously, a cracking game. I'm a Liverpool fan, so I was watching it as a neutral, but was cheering on Tottenham to try and...
so as a neutral, you were cheering on Tottenham.
I was cheering on Tottenham on the basis that, someone's got to stop Chelsea, otherwise they're going to run away with the league. Yeah. But I thought it was interesting when you were talking about, you were very critical of the Chelsea defenders, whereas Mike was praising Dele Alli. I actually think that the most important component of the goals, which was Christian Eriksen and his delivery from the wide areas, which, Dele Alli, I agree with Mike, his movement is clever.
Yep.
Both finishes were fantastic, but if you don't get the delivery from the wide area from Eriksen, you don't get the chance at the end of it.
Stuart, did you not see any fault at all with the defence of Chelsea?
I did, actually, and I was amazed to pick up on it on Sky last night. If you watch the goals again, have a look at the line that Chelsea hold on the box. I think most of them do their job very well. Typical kind of Italian setup. They squeeze right to the edge of the 18-yard box. But the one player who's left sleeping in the box is a guy who's not a natural defender, is Victor Moses. When Eriksson delivers the ball in, Harry Kane, Dele Alli, and even one other, I think it was maybe Danny Rose round the back, all of them were offside. But, other than the fact that Victor Moses was at least 2 yards deeper than Azpilicueta and Cahill, and he plays all of them onside because he's not a natural defender. He's a guy that they've made into a wing-back. To be fair to him, he's done a very good job for Chelsea this year. But I wonder whether that might just make Conte think about, I need to get a proper, fully-fledged wing-back who knows how to defend, because Moses was caught out, and that's not the first time it's happened for them this season.
Well, and Steve Lillywhite was saying they need somebody who's quite tall to sort of batter people around a little bit more as well, because Cahill doesn't seem to be doing that job. But realistically, Stuart, how are Liverpool going to make up the 5 points on Chelsea?
Oh, I think Liverpool are contenders. I mean, I think both the top 2 clubs at the moment have a big advantage in that they're not playing in Europe. Let's be honest, this was part of the reason why Liverpool went so close to winning the league 2 or 3 years back.
2 years ago,
under Brendan Rodgers, where they had no European football. I think Mourinho or someone was whinging about the fact that, they're getting to rest all the time, and clearly that advantage is with Chelsea this season and Liverpool. And I would be surprised if the title went to anyone outside of those 2 clubs, albeit I do think Tottenham are a threat, because I think that I think they're a fantastic side, and they are a young side that, if they don't win it this year, you would hope could maybe kick on next season.
Yeah, but Liverpool have got to rely on other teams beating Chelsea, is what I'm saying. I mean,
not at this stage of the season.
Yeah, they have.
No, I don't think so. At this stage of the season, results go left, right and centre. If you're talking about eight games left...
Let me make that more clear than I could have possibly done the last time. Spurs, Liverpool have to rely on Chelsea getting beaten by other teams. It's not in Liverpool's hands, is what I'm saying.
Well, if Liverpool beat Chelsea next time they play each other,
they're still 2 points behind them.
Just 2 points, yeah. So
they have to rely on other teams beating them.
So then Chelsea draw twice, right?
So they have to rely...
So they don't get beaten, they draw twice, and Liverpool overtake them. So I'm sorry, but with 18 games to go, it's not a question of, you're depending on the other teams now to beat them. It's
Liverpool
like
couldn't even beat Sunderland.
Well, that's down to Liverpool and how they deploy their resources in each particular game.
Would you like to have Stuart's input here, or you just want to argue with me?
No, I'd love to hear from Stuart again.
How's it going to happen, Stuart?
I think we're halfway through the season. Chelsea have had an unbelievable run recently. I think it's highly unlikely that they're going to be able to sustain that type of form. So they will drop points. Sadly, so will Liverpool. So will Tottenham. So will all of them. The question is, when it comes down to who's got the experience of winning the league, and the fact that Chelsea have got a number of players who have done this before, I believe, puts them, there's no question they're in the driving seat. Do I think they're going to win the league, Chelsea? Probably. I hope that they'll slip up and have a bad run. I just think they've got too much experience and too strong a squad. I don't know whether they'll drop enough points for Liverpool to catch them, but I think that Tottenham, for me, that was a massive win for them, because that means that they are in the shake-up.
Oh, definitely. No question.
Had a great first start they didn't have a brilliant first half of the season. If they finish the season, as they did last year, they'll probably win it.
Yeah.
Well, we shall see. Stuart, appreciate your call. Thank you very much. Although a couple of people have said, where do you find these guys? A Cockney Scouser from Edinburgh. But,
right, yeah.
The world is our oyster. That's why we do that. Now, a lot of people are taking issue with your having a go at Vinnie Jones, right?
Oh, are they?
A lot of people suggesting you've got his age wrong as well.
No, he's 57.
Here's one from Steve the Gardener in Chesham. Please tell the complete Plank the Porkster that he was born on January the 5th, 1965. Therefore, he's 51. Michael says Vinnie Jones is 52 today, not 57.
No,
so I think you may want to check that.
Hang on, I'll double-check that.
Here's one from Tom in Dorset. He said Porky should worry about Everton trying to win more than 2 games in a row. Hopefully he bumps into Vinnie Jones.
Yeah.
And Jane says the list is growing. Bobcat Bob, Vinnie Jones, Bono. Old Porky better watch his back.
Vinnie Jones, I can tell you, is 52 today.
So not 57.
52. That was a misprint.
57 from?
No, 2 and 7 look almost identical as the numbers.
Yeah.
He's 52 today.
So when you reach
Happy
62
birthday,
and somebody starts saying you're 67, you won't be happy.
Yeah, absolutely.
Now, a lot of people saying as well that there are many worse players than Vinnie Jones. Terry Darricott says PD.
No, he played for Everton. He wasn't that bad.
John says, I can name 11 worst players. The starting 11 for Everton. And Damon says, is Porky trying to tell me that Eric Jemba was a better footballer than Vinnie Jones? Madness.
Jemba played for Newcastle, didn't he?
I think he did, amongst others, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. He wasn't signed by Manchester United, was he, by any chance?
I think he was at one stage, yeah.
I thought he was as well, yeah.
How about this from Nick? Surely Carlton Palmer was the worst player to pull on a shirt. Vinnie wasn't the best, but Palmer was just awful. That's very harsh on
that's
Carlton Palmer.
very harsh on Carlton Palmer.
We talk to Carlton Palmer sometimes, don't we?
We do talk to Carlton Palmer.
I think he's out in Thailand or China or somewhere now.
And I think he was once voted as the worst ever England player, which he takes in very good stride, by the way. He doesn't upset him at all.
What, worse than Rob Green?
Well, Rob Green wore a pair of gloves, didn't he, when he played for West Ham, which had England's number 6 on them. You know, he used to take the mickey out of himself. But Carlton Palmer, to give him his due, he became an England international. Vinnie Jones...
He didn't play very many games, though.
Well, it doesn't matter. He can still... If you walked up and down, Oxford Street in London for the next 3 years, I bet you wouldn't bump into anybody who'd played football for England. It's that rare an honour.
I bet you would, actually.
Whereas Vinnie Jones, of course, I mean, Wales were probably one of the worst international teams in the world, looking for players...
I've upset so many people today.
No. And they went and found some antecedent to Vinnie Jones, and he had like a distant great-grandmother who was half Welsh or something.
I don't see you taking the mickey out of Andy Townsend in the same way.
Well, Andy Townsend's father was Irish, born in Ireland and brought up there, so he had every right to captain
Jones
Ireland.
is a Welsh name, isn't it?
Well, Jones is a Welsh name, yeah.
Just like Parry is.
But I remember
We haven't got time for this.
I remember Vinnie Jones saying that a Welsh choir, once sang, Land of My Fathers for him, and it brought tears to his eyes.
Oh.
I don't know why, because I don't think he'd ever been to Wales
himself
before.
In a very delicate place. Anyway, we'll take all your calls shortly. 08717 223344. Who's going to catch Chelsea? This is Talk Sport. We've got loads more to talk about, of course. Coming up, we've got the FA Cup this weekend, which you think is the most your most favourite weekend in the world of football, right?
It's the most exciting day in the football calendar, the first Saturday in January when the FA Cup proper kicks off.
Might have a little surprise for you tomorrow, actually, on that front.
Really? Is that right?
Yeah, we've been talking to your local team.
Oh, right, OK, yeah, I'm looking forward to that. Yeah, so, who are Epsom playing?
Epsom?
Yes.
Oh, I thought your local team was Chester.
Gosport, Chester. Well, I have antecedents with all these places, you know what I mean?
You'll be talking to Sutton, actually.
Oh, right, they're close by as well,
That's where you live, isn't it?
Yeah, Gander Green Lane. No, of course I don't live there. You
don't live in Sutton?
I live in Stockbroker.
Everybody's seen you where you live, because you put it out by accident on the internet.
No, not at all. Listen, there's a big competition going on here between Vinnie Jones, who I've branded as the worst ever
which I think is unfair,
playing the top line, and Robbie Savage. There's a lot of nominations for Robbie Savage.
Well, certainly Robbie Savage is right up there with some of the worst footballers ever to play.
Well, that's a bit harsh. I thought Robbie was actually quite good. He was well respected for the amount of running around he did, apparently.
Vinnie Jones was a better player, Terry-like, than Mike asserts, but like many in the game, he has the characteristics of a soldier more than that of a footballer. Wasn't there a game where he came out of the tunnel and just went round the crowd?
Just round
punching the air.
Just punching the air and clenching his fists and telling everybody it's all about fight. And
sometimes you look at a team like Arsenal, and they could do with somebody like that, couldn't they?
Well, yeah, but they'd have to have a modicum of skill, which Vinnie Jones didn't have.
Well, I mean, also a modicum of restraint, because he probably lasts about 45 seconds nowadays.
Maybe. He was very slow as well, so some of the tackles that he put in for which he got reprimanded...
Well, he was just mistimed.
But he was misplaced as a footballer. He should have never been a footballer. But a great mate of mine, the great James Lawton, fantastic journalist of great repute, wrote Bobby Charlton's life story and all that kind of stuff. He once went to a match just to watch Vinnie Jones, I think when he was playing for Chelsea, and he came away and his reports just said he couldn't find an iota of skill in this man and didn't know what he did. He just ran around intimidating everybody. Every time there was a flashpoint, Vinnie would sprint over and, wave his fist around, all that kind of stuff.
Well, there was a time and a place for that in those days.
I suppose there was,
with Rob, who's a Sunderland fan. He might say he wishes he had somebody like Vinnie Jones playing for Sunderland to keep them up. Rob, a very good morning to you. Welcome.
Good morning, gentlemen. Yeah, I would definitely have somebody like Vinnie Jones to keep us up. And I tell you what, unless you got health insurance, I wouldn't tell him to his face that he was the worst footballer.
Well, exactly. I mean, one of the things that Porky witnessed was a good friend of both of ours, a guy called Ted Oliver, who worked for the Daily Mirror, who Vinnie Jones bit the end of his nose off.
Bit his nose off, didn't he? Yeah. Because he criticised him. And the story, apocryphal it may be, that when he was at Leeds, Howard Wilkinson was going to drop him, and he brought one of his shotguns in, his famous shotgun, put it to his head and said, "You drop me, this goes off, I'm in the team." And then he walked away and said, "I am in the team." We need somebody like that. And talking to the FA Cup,
not that we endorse waving around of automatic or manual weapons, of course.
No, purely fictional, like two smoking barrels sort of thing.
That's it, yeah.
the FA Cup 1973, the last trophy we won. That's one trophy in 80 years. We're still getting over 40,000, and it's going to be dodgy this season. And we talk about Tottenham with their one at the end of a year. They need time to win the FA Cup. For us, the disaster years are 7. We've had 10 consecutive seasons in the Premier League here. 1957 was our annus mirabilis, as the Queen would say.
Yes.
Was the year that we were done for paying over the maximum wage. We were the scapegoat. All the other top clubs were doing it because we were paying more than 25 quid a week. Now,
was that to Brian Clough?
No, that was before Brian Clough. That was
it
was when we were the Bank of England club in the 40s and 50s. And 1957, we got done. The FA, the Football League, Alan Hardacre was just a junior auditor then. They came up and said, how are these teams, they're breaking this maximum...
Rob, do we think Jermaine Defoe is going to leave your club and go to West Ham?
Absolutely not. It's worse than a Brexit vote. Economic suicide. We pay more than that to West Ham in taxes. They get their tax. They're funded by the taxpayer after this season. We cannot let him go. It's 100 to 150 million.
But do you think the owners, when they see the size of the cheque, will be in a position not to resist?
Absolute madness. Relegation costs you 100 million to 150 million plus. If you sell Jermaine Defoe, we did it in the same January 2000 with Darren Bent to Aston Villa. They were relegated till they got Darren Bent. His first 6 games, he scored the only goal of each game.
Yeah. But Jermaine Defoe might want to leave. What happens if he wants to leave?
Well, I think he does.
We shouldn't have sold Bent. Rodgers kept Luis Suarez, didn't he, for a season? We keep him. He can't go. I'm sorry. Can't sell him for 100 million. That's what it's going to cost us. We cannot. Don't care. Hey, he got thumped by some hammer coming out of Wembley once, didn't he? The Hammers fans, they didn't like him.
Yeah, a lot of violence in this call, isn't it?
A lot of violence.
He
left the area.
Yeah.
He left the area, went for a bigger club.
Yeah.
And I don't think at the Queen Anne ground, the Queen Anne Boleyn ground, get them on the call.
Yeah, they don't play there anymore.
But anyway, don't play there anymore. Listen, Rob,
Rob,
thanks very much indeed. We've got to talk to Paul now. He's a Chelsea fan.
That's right.
I'm not sure. I mean, I think in the end, what Rob's saying is he doesn't want Jermaine Defoe to go, but doesn't mean he's not going to go.
No, it doesn't.
Let's talk to Paul, who's going to bring a bit of sense to the show, I think. Paul, very good morning to you.
Good morning. You all right?
Yeah, I'm very well. Can you bring a bit of sense to the show? Try and knock some sense into Porky, please.
I'd love to.
Yeah. Well, join the queue. There's Vinnie Jones, there's Bono, there's a whole bunch of people outside waiting to punch him.
Can we just get on with it, please?
Yeah, all right, mate. Going on about Chelsea and that, we lost last night. It was a bad game, a lot of pressure on us and that, but any club in the Premier League would cut the right hand off now to be 5 points clear.
Of course they would.
Basically, we're still at the top. We've got an easy one Saturday. There's no easy game in the FA Cup, but we can rest a few players and then crack on. And basically, I don't think we'll lose another game now to the end of the season.
That's a bit of a bold prediction, isn't it, Paul?
That is very bold.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, but I don't think we will. I think we've had a little blip now, basically.
But you see, I think more importantly, Paul, and you're right to say that everyone would love to be 5 points clear. Every other team can't afford to lose a game. That's the point. If Chelsea drop 1 or 2 points, they can. If they lose 1 or 2 games, they probably can. But that means everybody else, like Spurs and Manchester City and Liverpool, have all got to keep winning and keep getting maximum points, and that's not going to happen.
Yeah, basically we beat most of the big boys now. We've got to go to Liverpool and that. We get a point there, that'd do. Get a point there.
Paul, what about the horrific
prospect?
Game, isn't it? What about the horrific prospect of your former manager who left under a cloud? I'm talking about Jose Mourinho, suddenly kicking Manchester United into gear, and they go on the sort of run you've just had, and slowly they overtake you at the top of that league.
Yeah, they're the only team who can do it at the minute.
You think so?
I can't see it. Yeah, I can't see it, to be fair, though. I think
they're a long way back, aren't they?
Yeah, they're going to drop points. Liverpool's still going to drop points. We are. Chelsea are. But I think we're 5 points clear,
Yeah.
And I think we'll do it. I think we'll win by about 4 points in the end.
Okay. All right, Paul. Well, listen, thank you very much indeed for calling. Finally, the voice of reason. It's only taken the first hour to get somebody to agree with me that basically Chelsea are still...
Well, that's how long it will normally take somebody to agree
an hour?
with you.
Well, it normally takes about an hour for you to at least listen to what I'm saying. I've got
at
some
all.
very bad news for you, though. How about the news that I'm just reading here on Yannick Bolasie?
Right.
Do you know about this?
That's shocking news.
He could be out for a year.
Could be out until 2018.
Yeah.
That's shocking news for the lad. He'll be 28 when he comes back.
But what sort of news is it for Everton, though?
Well, it's shocking news. He's our record joint signing, 28 million, along with Lou. And it's devastating news. Devastating news for the club and for the player concerned. And, you know, when a manager has to face up to that really tests his ability to pull a team together. So it's shocking news.
How about this one? A lot of people saying worst footballer is going to be George Weah's cousin, who fancied himself as a superstar and got hauled off after being absolute rubbish.
But he turned up under false premises, didn't
I think so. False pretences.
False pretences, yeah. Wasn't
I don't know what premises he turned up on.
It's the same. It means the same.
No, it doesn't.
And
a false premise, possibly. Premises,
yeah,
no.
But he was trying to pretend he was a footballer, but he wasn't, was he?
A bit like yourself. Gabrielle says this: teams would be better off with Tom Jones, Grace Jones, or James Earl Jones than having Vinny in the side.
Well, I quite agree with that. Yeah, I'm not sure how good Tom Jones was. I think Tom Jones was fancying himself as a rugby player.
This one from Travis. How about the worst player ever was Robert Rosario for Nottingham Forest? Without a doubt. Have a look at his stats.
I've never come across him.
And Jolyon Lescott's been nominated as well.
We
Ruined villain has just been released by his recent club, says Carl.
We had a player at Everton in our sort of low years towards the end of the 70s, and we called him Bernie the Bolt.
Oh yeah,
we got him
like from the Golden Shot.
Yeah, that's right. We got him from Walsall,
yeah.
And he was hopeless. He was like a big sack of spuds, and he played as a forward.
Yeah.
I think he only played 4 games for Everton. I can't even remember his surname now, but he was, you know, it was a ridiculous signing. Why would you sign a player from Walsall when you were Everton?
Well, if you pick up somebody decent from Walsall, you sign a player from Sligo Rovers, for heaven's sake. This is Talk Sport.
He's top man.
Good morning, I'm Mike Graham, he's Mike Parry, you're listening to Two Mikes on Talk Sport. We've got loads coming up in this hour. We're going to be talking to George Akopoulos. You might remember him, he's a man that Alan Brazil speaks to on quite a number of occasions.
That's right.
About interesting things from Greece, because the new Hull manager is about to be unveiled. We think Marco Silva, who last came to fame taking Olympiacos to the title in Greece. So George Akopoulos is going to tell us all about him and whether he's any good or not, basically. We've got loads of good tweets coming in. You can tweet us, of course, at the Two Mikes, at Mike Parry, at IROMG. We'll also be talking to James Robinson, because Porky wants a new motorbike. He's had enough of that terrible car that he's got. He wants to get himself a Triumph Bonneville. 08717 22 3344. Postman Port coming up as well. You're listening to the Two Mikes with me, Mike Graham, and Mike Parry on Talk Sport. This is Talk Sport. We are the Two Mikes. There will be a podcast coming out. The Porky quiz tomorrow, by the way. Some are suggesting in the office that there's a Trivial Pursuit version of the Beatles.
There is.
And you've asked me if I would consider asking the independent quizmasters over the week off.
No.
And have the Trivial Pursuit game played out as the quiz instead?
No, I never had any part in it. What happened was I was informed that there is a lobbying group who have approached the independent quizmasters, such as they are, because they're not independent.
Well, they can't be approached.
They're under your control.
They can't be approached.
And asked if this Trivial Pursuit Beatles version was in fact a present given to a member of the TalkSport staff who is a legendary and very well-known Beatles fan. And he has volunteered to donate it to the quiz process for tomorrow.
OK, well, let's see if that works out. I mean, I've got no objections to it. If you're happy with that, we can do a Trivial Pursuit style quiz.
I'll have a quiz.
We'll have to do it the same way, 12 questions.
Yes.
Because there will be 6 categories,
That's right, yes.
Presumably.
Yes.
2 questions from each.
I'll have a quiz on anything, because what I do is I apply myself to my science, and so you can't catch me on anything. Don't worry about that.
Now, we're going to talk to George Akopoulos in a second. How about this from Billy? Why would Everton sign a player from Walsall, asked Porky. Why would Spurs sign a player from MK Dons? Dele Alli turned out all right.
Yeah, he turned out brilliantly, didn't he?
So that was a pretty stupid thing for you to say.
No, it's not. It's not. What I'm saying is, I don't think Walsall's ever produced a good footballer, has it?
Well, I mean,
not a great footballer, not even a good footballer.
I'm sure people will tell you that they have.
Really?
How about this from Daniel, who's in Nottingham? He says, all right, lads, I've played football for years. I've always wondered if clubs have insurance on players getting injured that they've paid millions for. Belatti, for example. Please discuss. So have a think about that.
Yeah, of course they have.
Have a think about that, and we'll come back to that one. Let's talk to George Akopoulos.
Right.
He's a sports editor for Kati Marini Daily over in Greece, and he knows a lot more than we do about Marco Silva. George, a very good morning to you. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year, good morning to you. If there ever is a Trivial Pursuit board game for Marco Silva.
Yes.
Then there is a question whether he has ever been sacked from a club on the grounds of his poor results. The answer is no.
Right. Well, don't worry. Don't worry.
Yeah.
That won't last for long because once he goes to Hull, he will be sacked for getting poor results because they're not very good.
Okay.
Yeah, it's absolutely true.
Now, okay, he's only, as far as we know, been in charge of 2 clubs, though, right? I mean, obviously Olympiacos in Greece and one other in Portugal.
Yes, well, Sporting Lisbon is a big club in Portugal, and he did fairly well over there.
Were they in the second division when he took them over?
Well, no. He was
in charge of Estoril, right?
He was at Estoril and then at Sporting Lisbon.
Yeah, but lasted 1 year at Sporting Lisbon.
Yeah, but then he was sacked for not wearing the appropriate outfits at the coaching area, which is quite weird.
I suppose that's one excuse.
Yeah, that's unusual. And what sort of a guy is he, as far as you know, George? Have you had much to do with him at Olympiacos?
Pretty much. He's a very friendly guy, and he's pretty good at interviews, if I can say so.
Is he? Yeah. Is he any good at coaching people in football?
Well, hang on. Sometimes being good at interviews is more important.
He's definitely the best coach Greece has had over the last 3 years. Which may not be too good, actually. But he definitely shone with Olympiacos last year. Olympiacos was by far the best team in Greece and even managed to upset Arsenal at the Emirates, if you remember last year.
I do remember that, yeah. So he was their manager then, was he?
Absolutely. Yeah. But then he failed to see Olympiacos through to the knockout stages when Arsenal found Olympiacos in Piraeus.
Right. Now, you say he's very good at giving interviews. When you interviewed him in Greece, was he doing the interviews in Greek or was he doing them in Portuguese?
No, in Portuguese. He's not fluent in Greek at all.
Are you aware of his fluency in English or whether he has any?
He does speak English, yes.
Yeah. Can you think for 1 minute at all, George, why, completely out of, the blue, a Premier League team from England would suddenly decide that he's the right man to rescue them from the worst position they've ever been in? I mean, this man really, I'm not being rude to him, but he has no track record of being a great coach.
Let me give you a name and a surname. Jorge Mendes.
Right.
Jorge Mendes.
Yeah, Jorge Mendes.
You know who that is,
the agent, super agent, yeah.
Yes, that's right. He's the agent. You know him, the biggest agent in the world.
Yeah, I know that. But I mean,
let him finish the point. Please. I think he's going to say that he's his agent. Is that what you're going to say?
Yes, that's right. And he was the one who pushed for him to get hired by Wolves earlier this season.
Yeah,
if you remember. And he was the one who got him the job in Olympiacos.
Yes.
And
so it's all about who he knows, really, isn't it?
No, it's not just that. But this is one of the big reasons why he has been chosen by the Tigers, by the whole city.
Yeah, but you see, that's not a good answer because that means that Jorge Mendes exercises...
It's a true answer.
Hang on, exercises so much influence that he can tell Premier League clubs in England to take managers who have no track record. I mean, that doesn't make any sense. Why do you want to keep Jorge Mendes happy in case he's got 2 or 3 good players up his sleeve or something?
Well, he has got 1 or 2 good players under his books, hasn't he?
What I like about TalkSport is that I can really speak my mind there.
Yes.
And the truth is that even he doesn't have such a pedigree, although he was triumphant in the Greek League last year.
Yes.
But the truth is that it's mainly who he knows that got him this job in
Isn't that what
England.
I just said? Yeah.
Yeah, who he knows.
You see, I said that and you didn't understand what I was talking about.
No, I understand exactly what you're talking about.
I mean, your understanding of football politics is laughable.
No, it's not.
Because, George, I mean...
Your understanding of football is laughable.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Jorge Mendes, right, represents some of the finest and most expensive footballers in the world, and the managers.
Yes,
Do you know that?
But just because Jorge Mendes represents a manager doesn't make him a good manager, does it?
I don't think Jorge would represent somebody who wasn't any good.
Yes, he would.
Why would he?
Because he has a political agenda on the wheeling and dealing situation, does he not, George?
Do you know who else he represents?
I know he represents some of the world's great players.
But he also represents Aitor Karanka, who ended up at Middlesbrough.
Well, brilliant.
Great. What do you mean, brilliant?
Do you think we could let George answer a few questions, please? George, what...
Well, have you got any more sensible questions?
George, what is the reason why Hull will suddenly say, oh, this man is represented by Jorge Mendes, therefore he must be brilliant?
There is a solid reason in that under his coaching, Olympiacos played definitely the best football we have seen here in Greece over the last decade.
Yeah, does he? Does he speak English, this guy, by the way?
I've already asked him that.
Yeah, and what did he say?
Yes, Pretty much, yes.
I mean, the trouble is, George, I have great difficulty working with a guy called Mike Parry because he doesn't actually listen to anything that anybody says apart from the stuff that comes out of his own mouth. And even that he forgets.
Yeah, but he may have an agent called Jorge Mendes.
Well, I'm wondering about whether Jorge Mendes represents him. That's how he got this job.
Right.
Because there's no other reason. How is Greek football this year shaping up? Anybody that...
who cares?
What do you mean, who
Nobody
cares?
cares about Greek football.
Well, I do.
No, they don't.
Well, I do.
Well, okay, which particular team do you care about in Greece?
I mean, AEK Athens, I was quite look out for. Olympiakos, I was talking about as well.
Do you mean AEK?
That's what I said.
No, you said AK.
No, I said AEK.
It's not a machine gun, it's a club, AEK.
No, I'm going to club you in a minute if you don't shut up.
I don't think you are.
George, please, tell us, are there any decent teams going to be coming out of Greece in the next sort of year or so?
I can see that happening. We already see a lame Olympiacos this season, still leading the league, but having trouble qualifying to the Europa League knockout stages. Panathinaikos, AEK and PAOK are suffering. AEK is about to sack its second coach for the year, who is incidentally another Portuguese, Mr. Moraes, a former assistant of Jose Mourinho.
Right.
Yeah.
So he's probably got Jorge Mendes under his arm as well then.
Okay.
I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah. Yeah, thank you very much. George,
hang on, George,
go.
just before you go.
George Akopoulos there.
George,
well, you've got to ask him another question.
Is Greece still bankrupt? And if so, how is football managing?
It's not bankrupt. It was bailed out by its Eurozone peers.
Oh, by Germany, yeah.
Coaching is not the best of jobs in Greece. In fact, it's pretty badly paid, and
I would imagine so. Yeah.
Why are you laughing?
Okay. Well, I mean, it's no wonder, is it, that a Portuguese guy in Greece who's not getting much dosh wants to come to England because Greece is bankrupt.
See, the trouble is, George, you may have heard this phrase before, "Little Englander." That's what Parry is. Yeah. He's a little Englander.
I don't think so.
So pay no attention to him, and thank you very much for coming on Talk Sport and for speaking your mind.
Thanks, George.
George Akopoulos there.
What a ridiculous question to ask him. Any good teams coming out of Greece?
Well, no, because...
do you think they've just invented a few new teams?
Well, no, but what I mean is...
Panathinaikos and all that.
What I mean is that, they've had a bit of a rough time in Greece recently, financially, as you pointed out, right?
I saw a man take an empty...
if I'd had time to explore it with somebody with a brain, I would have asked him whether the fact that Turkey is having a bit of trouble at the moment with terrorism might mean that some of the players who played Turkey might come over to play in Greece.
Oh, we're all very interested in that.
Well, people are interested in things that go on outside of their little world, okay?
There's people out there...
Sutton and, various little horrible little Weatherspoons that you go to.
I can see it now. There's people out there holding tranny radios to their ears saying, "Ooh,
what sort of radios?
Oh, old MG is solving the Turkish-Greek problem."
What sort of radios? Hey? This is Talk Sport. Now, a lot of people are disputing your claim that Vinnie Jones is the worst footballer ever, right? John says this, Abel Xavier was the worst footballer, and on top of that, he was banned for performance-enhancing drugs, which begs the question, how bad was he before he took them?
He played for both Everton and Liverpool.
Did he?
Yeah, he was the guy who had the fantastic sort of all-round hair sort of style, like the hair on his head was the same as the hair on his chin.
Oh, really?
His beard.
All round hair.
Honestly,
I've heard that phrase.
His face sort of came out of this huge sort of bubble perm bush.
Oh, okay.
And a lot of it was on the top of his head, some of it was on his chin, and the rest was on the side of his face.
You have a bit of that sort of look going on as well.
No.
Except there's not very much of it. Troy Deeney, Will Grigg and Matty Fryer all came from Walsall. They're not half bad, says Ryan.
Well,
similarly, Wayne says, Porky, what about Scott Dan? He came from Walsall as well. So, I mean, once again, you've talked about an absolute load of old nonsense. You've got it all wrong. Yeah. Somebody else has tweeted in, I'm just trying to find it, in which it has been corrected that Andy Townsend's... Oh, here we go. This one says, Derek, this is from Derek. He says, you're a plonker. Andy Townsend's dad wasn't born in Ireland. I think the slap that woman gave you in the Boots pub damaged your brain.
Andy Townsend's dad was a professional footballer who played for Charlton. And
you said he was born in Ireland.
He was Irish, I'm telling you. That's why Andy was eligible right from day one to play for Ireland. I know about these things. Don't worry about it.
Andrew says this, talking about the new Hull bosses, nobody's heard of him. They said the same with Wenger back in the 90s.
Yes, I know, but Wenger was appointed by David Dean, who was a master researcher of football matters worldwide.
A lot of the Arsenal players hadn't heard of him as well. I mean, certainly what I wasn't aware of was that this guy who's coming over from Portugal, Marco Silva, was in charge of the Olympiacos team to beat Arsenal. Yeah. So that gives him some pedigree, I guess, right?
Yeah, but very, very limited one in my view.
A lot of people saying you were very rude to George Georgakopoulos.
No, George laughed a lot. George likes robust interviewing techniques.
Yeah, Justin in Malvern says, that clip about Mike Parry being scared to go to Thailand because he would be used as a drug mule. I had a mouthful of Robinson's squash, which I just spat all over the windscreen.
Well, funny you should say that about the windscreen. But no, I mean, I've always had the fear that if you go somewhere like that and you have a few sherbets in the departure lounge, as you're coming out of the airport, somebody, some nefarious individual will creep around and slice a hole in your suitcase and shove a packet of drugs worth £25,000 inside. No, you wouldn't spot it because you're bladderated. And next thing, you find yourself in old Midnight Express territory, you know what I mean?
Yeah, Dave says, Porky thinks it's hilarious that Greece is bankrupt but still calls himself man of the people.
No, I don't. And I don't take any pleasure or joy out of other people's misfortunes. The point is that the Greek economy is struggling, and all I was trying to make the point was that if a chap who is Portuguese is working in Greece as a coach and then gets the offer to work in England as a coach, of the two economies, you would probably regard yourself as being in a better position to work in England.
To be honest, I wanted
to
know more. Instead of you making fun of the Greek economy, I actually wanted to know more about what the guy got fired for, wearing the wrong clothes the technical area.
Well, he told us that.
But he didn't elaborate on it. You see, the trouble with you is you have no depth. You're a surface only. You are as shallow as the shallowest of swimming pools.
So your question to George about any good teams coming out of Greece lately? I mean, what a stupid question.
Well, not really.
Like they've just invented some new teams, have they?
Not really.
Panathinaikos, by the way, cheated Everton out of the European Cup
in 1971.
No.
This is why you hate Greece.
No, but they did.
Yeah.
Listen, talking about that correspondent of ours who spat his juice out while he was in his car.
Yeah.
I want to talk to you about cars because you have. I will stand up and be counted. You have a very nice new car. Okay?
I do. That's true.
It's a 4x4. It's
what's
it? What do they call it? The F
Pace.
F Pace. Yeah.
F Pace.
As opposed to the F Type.
As opposed to the F Type. Yes.
Which is a lovely car. You'd agree, wouldn't you?
The F Type's a nice car. Yeah, but it's a small car, so it wouldn't be any good to me.
No. It's an exclusive car.
Well, no, it's a sports car.
Yeah, that's right, it is, yes.
Why are you looking at me with some kind of weird glaze on your eyes?
Because I had a close-up look at an F-Type very, very recently.
What do you mean you had a close-up look? What, you went to drive one, you mean?
Well, I didn't quite get a drive it this time.
Oh, you didn't get to drive it?
That's going to happen.
Well, they're going to have to change. They're going to have to alter it for you, are they?
Not at all. No,
you can't get into it because you're too fat.
No. Don't be ridiculous. I
wouldn't get a sports car if I were you. You look ludicrous in it.
It's just that. I already have one. I already have an E-Class.
No, you've got an old E-Class. You've got an old Mercedes E-Class.
Two-door sport.
You've got an old, out of design, deleted section E-Class.
A car that's not yet 12 months old, and you're calling it old and deleted. Ridiculous.
It's actually more than 12 months old.
Anyway,
the point. Anyway, once again, because I've got you here. You got the very last edition.
No.
Before they redesigned it, literally the next day.
No.
The next day.
Anyway, look, our millions of listeners.
Yeah, all right, let's move on, shall we?
Now then, what I was going to talk to you about was the dashboards on cars have become a risk to drivers.
And cars are too clever now.
I'm serious about this.
Yeah.
Car makers not doing enough to stop drivers being distracted by touchscreen entertainment systems. Yeah. Jim O'Sullivan, who's the chief executive of Highways England, the guys who...
Is that a Quango?
I think it is a Quango.
Oh.
You know, like years ago when you were driving around on motorways, you used to see police cars. Now, every now and then, there's a big rush of drivers all braking and stopping and red lights because they see what's called highways maintenance vehicles, okay?
Yeah, but they're not police, are they?
No, they're not. This is the point. It's a Quango designed. I don't know what they do. They just drive up and down the motorways. I have no idea what they do.
No, I think the highways maintenance people are actually involved in maintenance. They are actually fixing things.
Yeah, but it's a new arm of government, and I have no idea what they do. But anyway, the point of the story is, chap who's of Highways England, he says companies are failing to ensure that safety measures keep pace with increasingly complex infotainment systems. And the critics of these, because he had an examination done, say that you're bombarded with information now as a driver, which distracts you terribly.
Well, I'll tell you one of the biggest distractions.
Far worse sometimes than a mobile phone.
One of the biggest distractions, and I see this driving around London in particular, because there's an awful lot of people now driving around in London, in various guises as, private hire people, Uber and all that. They've all got these sat-navs, right? And they don't know their way around.
No, that's right.
And so they're driving at about 10 miles an hour trying to read the sat-nav, trying to work out where to go, which is a terrible, terrible distraction. I mean, on mine it says, please do not use while you're driving.
That's right.
But as you say, there's with a touch screen in particular,
yes,
which I don't believe your car has, but mine does.
Yes,
because yours is older, obviously.
No, it's not.
No,
it's more sophisticated.
Yours doesn't have a touch screen. I know it doesn't.
Well, hang on. I've had 3 Jaguars. They all had touch screens.
No, they didn't. They've only just brought touch screens in.
No. Honestly, I can
Don't
assure
tell
you.
lies.
Listen, let me tell you this. The Volvo XC90, as an example, has a 9-inch screen in the middle of the dashboard.
Yeah.
Now, think about that.
Yeah.
A 9-inch screen. That's the size of the tablet you've got in front of you.
It is the size of that, but I'll tell you what's worse than that.
Yeah.
I saw a Tesla the other day, which has a screen which is more like about a 15 or a 16-inch screen, which is
on the dashboard.
Like the size of this computer in front of me on the desk.
Unbelievable.
And it's ridiculously huge.
And the screen in the new Volvo allows drivers to touch and swipe for information. So, for instance, you can get the news headlines as you're driving along.
Yeah.
In an Audi, they can connect you to read news stories at the wheel. They're actually flying past you on your.
That's kind of mad, isn't it?
When you're driving, if you get bored, you can search for concerts and plays and give descriptions and directions of the sort of thing you're looking for. Okay. In another car, a Nissan, on social media, your connection allows you access to Twitter and Facebook.
Yes.
As you're driving, right? And in yet another car, there's an eat-out system which allows you to contact TripAdvisor with restaurants and hotel reviews as you're driving to them.
Well, my sat-nav has got the ability to tell me where restaurants are.
Right.
You know, which is also kind of mad. I mean, it's all very well if you're sitting in traffic and you know that you're not moving, like stuck in a kind of,
That's right.
one of those terrible things on the M25.
I totally agree.
But,
now,
I mean, looking up Twitter and Facebook while you're driving...
It's crazy. It shouldn't be allowed. In 2015, there were 2,920 accidents in Britain where the authorities put it down to a distraction inside the vehicle being a contributory factor, i.e. accessing something on your dashboard. 61 people died in those 2,920 crashes. I mean, surely they can do something about it. You're absolutely right in what you just said, because if I want to, for instance, search the DAB register to get a new radio station, if I want to listen to Virgin and listen to TalkSport or something like that, it actually says...
Your eyes have to come off the road, don't they?
Your eyes have to come off the road, but it actually says, you're quite right, as you go to that, it says, please... press this button to tick the box that you will not allow yourself to be distracted while you're doing this.
Right.
But you are distracted.
And you're distracted ticking the box for a start.
But you're only giving an assurance to a computer.
Yeah.
It's not like giving it...
I know.
And what are you supposed to? You're supposed to say, oh, no, I can't give you that assurance, and the system closes down. I think it's a huge problem.
Yeah, it really is.
And the thing is...
Well, maybe when you get a new car, you can ask for no screen in it.
I'm not sure if you can. I'm not sure. Could you ask for a no screen?
Yeah, I'm
in
sure
your car?
you could, yeah.
I suppose you could, but then you'd be completely out of touch with everybody else. I don't see any problem.
See the time, by the way.
Listen, this is important.
Yeah, but the time is important as well.
It's a safety factor.
Yeah.
I don't see any problem in driving around and talking into fresh air on a Bluetooth phone connection
Well, some
system.
people think that's distracting too.
Do they?
Yeah.
Is it more distracting than listening to a radio?
Yeah, and more distracting in a way than talking to somebody else who's sitting next to you. It's a big subject, this. We might have to talk some more about this because we haven't got any time. This is Talk Sport. This is Talk Sport. We are the two mics. The Porky quiz tomorrow, as far as we know at this stage, is going to be a trivial pursuit-based exercise in the Beatles. Which, of course, when we did a regular Beatles quiz, you got 3 out of 10.
No, I don't think so.
Dave says this: how many crashes have been caused by Mike Parry spouting utter madness? #distraction.
Not at all.
Dan says research shows passenger subconsciously stops talking to you at junctions and roundabouts, etc. The same not said during phone calls. There may be some truth to that. And on the subject of Walsall, here's one from someone who doesn't give a name. Walsall produced Alan Clark. Walsall, Fulham, Leicester, Leeds, England. Britain's first £150,000 footballer.
He was.
When he was transferred from Fulham to Leicester.
That's right.
So, once again, your statement, Walsall never produced any decent footballers, appears to have been shot down in flames.
No, it wasn't. It wasn't a statement. It was a question.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, the answer is you're wrong, basically. Let's talk to James Robinson, though, because there's been a tremendous British success story, you'd have to say, in recent years. Triumph Motorcycles are doing brilliantly, right? They've had a rise in profits to £16.6 million, which is almost double what it was from the previous year. Sales have increased 4.5% from 53,000 to 56,000. You've expressed interest in getting yourself a motorbike.
Indeed.
Let's ask James why suddenly there's a lot more motorbikes on the road. James, very good morning to you.
Good morning, fellas. How are you doing?
Yeah, very well
James.
indeed.
Thanks
Very
for
well
us.
indeed. Now, Mr. Parry has expressed an interest in getting his hands on a new Triumph Bonneville.
Yeah.
Seems to me you'd have to be quite handy on a motorbike and quite strong and tall and sort of Peter Fonda-like to be getting on with it, wouldn't you?
Well, it's more Steve McQueen. He was more associated with Triumphs. But, but it's... Yeah, I mean, new Bonneville's been a great success for Triumph among... they've got plenty of models out, but the Bonneville's kind of the iconic name that
Well, I mean, James, this is great news because, of course, as a teenager, after I'd seen what's it called?
Great Escape.
Yeah.
No. The
You mean Easy Rider?
Easy Rider.
Yeah,
Once I'd
Those
seen
were Harley Davidsons, though.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, but once I'd seen that, I came out of the cinema and I thought, I've got to get a bike. What have we got in this
Your
country?
arms wouldn't reach up to the top of a chopper.
Well, don't worry about that. And of course, everybody said it's the Triumph Bonneville. And then, you sort of over the decades, you loosely keep an eye on this. And then I thought, no, Triumph have gone to the wall. They're bust. The Bonneville's gone. But in fact, the company's been reborn, hasn't it?
It was, yeah. I mean, basically what happened was that in 1984, the Triumph name was bought by a guy called John Bloor, who's Bloor Homes, based in Leicestershire. And he licensed the name out to someone else but put plans in place, and so that in 1991 it was Triumph Motorcycles relaunched as a proper entity. Yeah. And they kind of for 10 years they sort of set about establishing themselves, getting a foothold and making various models and just establishing a bit of a base really. Yeah. And then in 2001 it was when they relaunched the Bonneville name. Yeah. Which the Bonneville name has always been the one most associated with Triumph.
Exactly.
And that's the one that everyone's kind of still knows and still hears of. And so Triumph, for years and years, kind of everyone was expecting, as soon as the new Triumph name reappeared in 91, everyone was waiting for the Bonneville to reappear, and it was 2001 when they did it. But what they did was quite clever. Then rather than going for the original Bonneville, which was launched in 1959, was a kind of top of the range Sportster. Yeah. Whereas the 2001 version is more of a kind of mid-range bike. Let's call it that.
Do you mind not saying yes every 5 minutes?
No, I'm agree with all this.
I mean, it must be very distracting for you. I'm terribly sorry, James.
It's very interesting.
It's like talking to a baboon.
Yeah.
Sorry, carry on, James.
Right, yeah. So they relaunched the Bonneville name in 2001 on a quite normal sort of, but classically styled. It looks very much like sort of the late 1960s, early 70s Bonneville, because realising that the nostalgia and that goes hand in hand with the name was the thing that was going to sell the bike, and it has been a great success for them. And what they've done, again, very cleverly, is from that base model Bonneville, they've added various other sort of versions of it. So kind of like a sort of a street scrambler version.
Is there a sort of, now that we were talking, just before you came on, James, we were talking about the many distractions inside cars now with all with the huge kind of, huge screens that you can have, DAB radio this and navigation and that. I mean, have bikes got all that stuff now as well?
Not really, no. I mean, that's the beauty of motorcycling, is it's a much more kind of pure, much more pure and simple and cleaner, really. And there is, you do get bits and pieces. Some stuff will now have ABS fitted and things like that, but ultimately it's still kind of you on your bike.
Do we think the resurgence in motorbike ownership, James, has come about because the roads are now so clogged up?
Well, that's it. I mean, it does make so much sense, especially if you're commuting, to be on a bike. I mean, I always find that when you go anywhere by motorbike, by the time you get there, you're actually kind of in a much better frame of mind than if you've been sat in traffic for the last 2 hours.
It's an experience, isn't it?
Yeah, that's it. Every journey is part of the fun and makes it pleasurable. And on something like the new Bonnevilles, just a lovely bike to be riding at kind of sort of 60, 70 mile an hour. It's not
60 or 70? I thought that the Hells Angels were like riding their hogs at 80 or 90. Huh?
Well, you've
got to adhere to the speed limit, as you know.
Yeah, well, in places where you're allowed to do 80 or 90,
like what?
like certain parts of Germany and certain parts of America.
That's it, and that's where all the speeding testing happens, of course.
Yes.
But the way that Triumph are playing, like the Bonneville in particular, is that it's aimed at that kind of 60, 70 mile an hour cruising. It's not about racing, being frantic, rushing. It's just a very pleasant, relaxing kind of experience.
The question is, James, can you get Porky onto the back of a Triumph Bonneville? And can we film it, please? And make sure you've got plenty of ambulances on standby.
No. The question is, does it suit a man of my calibre? I'm a guy who.
They go to three-wheeler ones.
Excuse me. I have a very nice car, right? Now, why not have a hog? Why not have a hog parked in the garage as well?
A hog?
Alongside it.
A hog?
That's what we call motorbikes. You know.
Is that what you excuse me, James? Is that what you call them?
Well, that's what you call Harleys, but that's no. We'll go for a Triumph.
Yeah, go for a Triumph. Yeah, and that's right. And,
isn't the coolest bike actually? Because I remember in Mallorca, you might remember this when we went to that restaurant with that very cool German guy.
That's right. Yeah,
and he had an Indian motorcycle.
Yeah,
now that was a cool motorcycle.
Now Indians are another one, another company, another one of the old names, another old famous name that's made a resurgence.
Right.
This sort of brand. I don't really like to use the word brand, but that kind of brand association is something that's happening more and more now. I mean, Indian is another one that the name was defunct since the 1950s and has come back in the last few years. Yeah. And various others are doing the same. I mean, BSA, which
Enfield as well.
Enfield actually never went. They've always stayed, but they're Indian owned and have been Indian based for a long time now. But interestingly, an Indian company has just bought the BSA name as well.
Right.
And a huge, massive company from India is now looking at relaunching the BSA name as a kind of a high-end sort of. Yeah.
What about your hero Tom Cruise in Top Gun? Right? Did he not? Was it not Kawasaki that
he was a Kawasaki. Yeah.
That's right. As the aeroplane was overtaking
they
him.
want one of those.
No. The thing is, James.
It's in your time, by the way.
Excuse me. Decades ago, you'd have looked a bit foolish when you were entering early middle age and decided to start becoming a biker.
You look a bit foolish, no matter what you do.
just as, hang on, excuse me, can you shut your mouth a minute? Just as rock fans have grown up with the Rolling Stones and Fleetwood Mac, surely bikers have now grown into respectable middle age as bikers who can put on a leather jacket and a pair of jeans and get going, yeah?
And that hugely is the market now. I mean, it really is, and that's where, again, that's what Triumph, they knew very cleverly what they were doing with this model, is that they're the people that they're pitching the bike to. A lot of them are the people in sort of the middle age with a bit more disposable income and things like that. Traditionally motorcycles were always the young lads' kind of way of transport, and then gradually over time, and it was really the 1960s where it started that motorcycles became a leisure activity rather than a way to get to work.
That's right.
Which in a lot of ways is a shame because it is still a great way to get to work. There's nothing better
indeed
than being able to not sit in traffic.
I think it'd be great if you could use the cycle lanes in one, wouldn't it?
Well, it would be, except you'd mow down a few cyclists, unfortunately, which would be a tragedy.
Well, it'd also be illegal.
I believe the motorcycle changed its image because of Lawrence of Arabia.
Can you make any references which actually refer to this century?
No. Well, that's true, isn't it?
I mean, there are people listening to this show
James,
who were
that is true, isn't it?
Until 2000.
That is true. Lawrence of Arabia, who was a very glamorous soldier, died very glamorously by smashing himself up on his motorbike, and that changed it all, didn't it?
I mean, and he did. You're right. I mean, it was 1932 or 3, I think it was, when Lawrence was killed. But interestingly, he was killed on a Brus Superior, which is another name that in the last couple of 3 years has made a reappearance as well. Really? Yeah, I mean, Brus Superior is, again, massively high-end, kind of, starting at £50,000-ish bikes.
Wow.
And very...
It's more expensive than your car.
Well, it's a very expensive bike.
It's in the time, by the way.
It's around about there anyway. But they're, so Brus Superior, again, another one of the famous iconic names that's being resurrected. Yeah. And this whole interest in the industry is building up around these old names coming back now.
Well, listen, James, we've got to leave it there, I'm afraid. But it's fantastic to talk to you. We'll come back to you, though, because I really want to get Porky into a set of leaththers and get him on the back of a motorbike somewhere near a racetrack so we can watch him spin off.
Born to be
Thank you very much. How pathetic is that? That was James Robinson, editor of the Classic Motorcycle. We'll talk some more about that coming up next. There's some music for Big Brother, isn't it? Celebrity Big Brother started up again.
Oh, has it?
Yeah, it's our mate that does that.
Who's that?
Ben Frau, the guy from Channel 5.
Yeah, Mr. Frau,
Mr. Frau, yeah.
How are you, Mr. Frau?
He basically said to us at one point, I don't think we're giving anything away here.
No.
If he could run Big Brother 24 hours a day,
that's right.
That's what he would like to do. It's about the only thing he gets any ratings for.
Yeah, that's right. He said he just made a new show with a number of sort of big name people.
Who we won't name.
But he said the ratings were zero.
Useless.
There was absolutely nothing.
Rubbish.
He was rather irritated at the time because he was paying $6,000 to have a tooth taken out. Another one put in, wasn't he? And he wasn't in the best of mood.
Also, it's always funny when you get to meet these guys, right? And and you dress up in I put a suit on, and he was wearing shorts and a T-shirt.
Yeah, he was, and he looked like he'd just walked in off the street and just walked into the programme director's office because he couldn't find anywhere else to sit.
Exactly right.
It's a bit of a tatty old office as well, wasn't it?
You know.
It had scrubby old furniture in it, which would come off a TV set.
I think they were on their way out as well, being moved, weren't they? Anyway, that's enough inside media talk.
That's right.
People don't like too much of that. Let me read you a couple of tweets before we go any further.
Yes.
Sounds like Porky's auditioning for Top Gear, says Jack. He would be the final nail in the coffin for that show, which is probably true.
That's a bit harsh.
Flinty says the only chance Porky has of getting on a motorbike is a sidecar.
Oh, yeah.
And also, Lee has sent us a rather nice picture you might like. It's a 1977 Silver Jubilee Bonneville.
Wow.
A fantastic ride. He says you should get one of these, Paul.
Well, if I do get a motorbike, that's what I'm going to get. I'm going to get a Triumph Bonneville. I do. I'd love to have a Triumph Bonneville. Imagine saying to somebody, come back to my place, have a look at my Bonneville.
What?
Hey? Can you imagine that?
No, well, what do you mean imagine that? That's one of the worst and most ridiculous things you could ever say to anyone.
I'd have to get another parking bay in my underground car park to house
Come back to my place and have a look at my Bonneville.
I know.
That is the saddest thing I've ever heard.
Talking
How
about
that? This guy's got a 1997 Triumph Speed 750.
Is it a Bonneville, though?
Well, it's a Triumph. It's not a Bonneville, no.
Mate. You've got to have a Bonneville or you know
See,
where.
this is typical of you. You've heard one word and you think, I must have that because that will make me a bigger man.
Now listen.
It'll make me more of a, babe magnet.
Now listen. We have loads of features in these shows that we do. One of them, of course, is Porky Vision.
Yeah, well, they're all called. They're all prefixed with the word Porky. Somebody's already brought this up. And
Oh,
said,
really?
Why is it that every single feature in the show is all about Porky? And when I said to you last week, since we're doing 5 shows this week, maybe we should introduce a new one.
Yes.
In which I'm featured. You were absolutely stunned.
No, I didn't.
You went pale.
No. I just want to make sure that it's appealing to the listener. Now, what I was going to say is I've received an awful lot of feedback because a lot of it was to do with the horizontal refreshment situation.
Yeah. Well, I asked you not to keep saying that yesterday.
Well, I've had a few from a few parents. I'm having difficulty in the car explaining to our youngsters what horizontal refreshment is. But anyway, that's by the by. The point is, you know how highly I regard, Admiral Horatio Lord Nelson.
Do you?
That I live within sight of his ship, HMS Victory. When I go up every morning, out on the balcony, I see the mast of HMS Victory
from
opposite.
Sutton?
No, you idiot, from Gosport.
When was the last time you spent the night there?
That's irrelevant. I mean, you
haven't been there since last year.
I don't know what you're talking about, man. Will you just shut up for a minute?
Well, you haven't been in Gosport,
anyway,
to my knowledge, since at least November.
Anyway, listen, the point is...
So when you say you wake up every morning and see HMS Victory...
Yeah, I do on certain days.
Unless you've got a poster on it, you're talking absolute obletos.
Well, in fact, I had a painting of it commissioned.
By whom?
By a local artist.
Commissioned?
Yes.
By some guy who was, down and out outside the pub?
No, he was an artist. He painted in oils and that kind of stuff. And
painted in oils?
Yeah, he painted my own version of HMS Victory.
Turner-esque, then, is it?
Very Turner-esque indeed, yeah.
Really?
In fact, next time I'll take a picture of it and bring it back. Now then, what I was going to say is...
Nice, yeah. Why don't you take a picture of the ducks you've been feeding?
What has been discovered, and I'm not sure which way to feel about this chap, but... Lord Nelson, of course, Admiral Lord Nelson, Horatio Admiral Lord Nelson, as I call him.
Is that his name? Horatio Admiral Lord Nelson?
Well, his official title is Horatio Admiral Lord Nelson.
You didn't even know, though, that Nelson's column pointed in the direction of Trafalgar, did you?
Of course I did. Everyone knew that. Anyway, the point of the story is his well-known mistress was Emma Lady Hamilton, OK?
Yes.
Now, the point is that while everybody thought that, poor old whoever was married to Lady Hamilton, probably Lord Hamilton, I suppose.
I would imagine so.
Yeah, exactly.
Wasn't he the one that was killed in that show you were talking about? Wasn't that Lord Hamilton?
Oh, no. Yeah, sorry. Halcyon.
Halcyon.
Funny enough.
Wasn't he Lord Hamilton?
Yeah, but this guy is not Lord, he's a Sir.
Different Lord Hamilton.
So Lady Hamilton's husband was Sir William Hamilton, OK?
Sir William, yeah.
Sir William. Now,
if you're Sir, then your wife is Lady, right? Technically.
Our old boss, Sir Nicholas Lloyd.
Yeah.
And Lady?
Was it Lady Pollard? She was never
Lady Eve,
as
I think. I think it's called Lady.
Well,
I
mean, she's often on TV. She's never addressed as Lady Eve.
No, well, they differ on their titles, don't they?
But you noticed, by the way, that nobody's calling Andy Murray Sir Andy Murray.
Well, they shouldn't because he's too young. But anyway, look, let me get to the point of this story because people want to know this.
Well, hurry up.
So a letter written by Sir William Hamilton. He was the official husband of Lady Hamilton.
Yeah.
You can draw one of two conclusions of this. Either he's a very weak man because he seriously didn't mind.
Did you get this from the same journal as the one about old Victoria and what's his face?
Very similar. Victoria and Billy Connolly.
Yeah, not Billy Connolly.
Billy Connolly
Mr.
played
Brown.
him. Mr. Brown, that's right, yeah.
That's why I said Brune.
Mr. Brune. Anyway, Sir William Hamilton, they've discovered in my historical journals, he wrote a letter and about
he wrote a letter?
Yeah, about the scandal surrounding his wife's relationship with
Horatio Lord Nelson.
Horatio Admiral Lord Nelson. In fact, he expressed in his letter he doesn't mind old Nelson exercising horizontally with Lady Hamilton.
Well, it's doing his duty, I suppose.
It says in his letter to Nelson.
What does he actually say?
Well, I'm going to read it to you. In the letter to Nelson's secretary, Sir Hamilton called his rival a noble and brave friend.
Well, that's fair enough.
A noble and brave friend for whom he had the utmost respect.
He
said,
Give me some respect.
Give me some respect. He said, "Who can know this extraordinary hero and good man without a sincere attachment to him?" So, and this was written on December the 10th, 1800, right?
Yeah. How long before his death?
Well, he died in 1805, didn't he, at the Battle of Trafalgar?
Yeah.
So what I'm saying is, you kind of
So how many years was that? 10 years before?
No, 5. This was 1800. He died in 1805.
Right.
So you have to kind of assume that Sir William Hamilton didn't know that Lord Nelson...
I suspect he didn't know.
Lord Nelson was in horizontal refreshment mode with Lady Hamilton.
Was that before he lost his eye?
No, it was after he lost his eye and his arm.
So he was one-armed and one-eyed, and he was still managing to outdo Sir, what his name, his name, Hamilton.
He was, yeah. He was
That's
still,
what I call charisma.
He was still more attractive physically to Lady Hamilton than Sir William was, and William had 2 arms and 2 eyes.
Well, there we are then.
Yeah.
This goes to show you looks aren't everything.
Yeah. But it says, you see, Hamilton, this is Sir Hamilton.
Sir Hamilton, I'm sure that's not right.
No,
listen,
listen.
It's Sir David, isn't
listen,
it?
This is
it
great.
David Hamilton? Was that his name?
No, I just told you what his name was.
William.
His name was Sir William Hamilton.
Well, call him Sir William then.
But this is the most interesting.
Call him Sir Hamilton.
Hang on, this is the most interesting that people didn't know.
Yeah.
See, Sir William married Emma when he was 61.
Right.
But she was 26.
Yeah, well, so
right?
Child bride.
But she had been his mistress for 5 years before that.
Since she was 21.
Since she was 21, yeah. So the British envoy...
Well, maybe he didn't fancy it anymore.
Well, maybe he wasn't up to it anymore at the age of 61. And old Horatio, even with his only one arm and one eye, stepped in there and had more energy.
Very possibly.
It could have been.
Yeah.
But anyway, it says here, Sir Hamilton...
Sir William.
Sir William, yes. May later have welcomed Nelson's interest in his vivacious young wife.
Yeah.
The couple met in 1793 in Naples.
Right.
And by 1798, Nelson and the Hamiltons were living in a menage a trois.
Really?
Menage a trois.
You can't say that on this show.
Well, you can because it's foreign language. In Palermo...
No, because it's a foreign language.
That's right, yeah. In Palermo, Sicily.
You see that story from France, by the way?
Well, funny you should mention that because after learning the relationship, Nelson's wife, who was called... Frances.
Frances,
yeah.
Frances?
Yes, Frances.
You mean Francis?
Frances, that's what I've just said.
With an E?
Yeah, so after learning of the relationship, Nelson's wife, Frances, gave an ultimatum. He said, either give up your mistress...
Yeah.
Or...
I'll cut your other arm off.
Or lose me. Yeah, I'll get the arm off, yeah. He said, either give up your mistress or lose me. And, of course, guess what?
Well, he didn't give her up, did he?
No, he gave up his wife. When she gave him the ultimatum, said, you've got to give it your mistress or I'm off, he said, that's OK, I'm choosing Lady Hamilton.
Yeah.
So he chose another man's wife.
You think she had him shot and it was all nothing to do with the French at all?
No, that was a French sniper, honestly.
Right. Have you seen the time, by the way?
Well, don't worry about it. This is so interesting.
Well, it's not that interesting. You've got the news to do.
When he returned to sea, Nelson kept up a correspondence with Lady Hamilton using the name of a seaman under his command called Ben Thompson.
Ben.
So what you got to know?
Yeah, well,
you got to know from Ben Thompson.
Yeah.
It was
There's
actually
a joke there somewhere.
It was a joke there somewhere.
Can you stop now?
Unbelievable.
Yeah, thank you very much indeed. Mike in Worthing says this: Dear MG, please stop saying "Have you seen the time?" every 5 minutes. Yeah. It's driving me mad. How do you know it's every 5 minutes, Mike in Worthing? It is not every 5 minutes. I say it whenever we're running late, which is quite regularly, but certainly not every 5 minutes. This is Talk Sport. Good afternoon, I'm Mike Graham, he's Mike Parry. You're listening to the Two Mikes on Talk Sport. Coming up in this hour, it's time for Postman Pork, which is a relatively new feature where Porky basically takes all of the posts that's come in addressed to him and to me as well, sometimes pretending it's only been addressed to him, and opens it live on air, which can lead to some rather unusual situations. Also, we're going to be talking to David James, former Liverpool, Manchester City, West Ham goalkeeper, England goalkeeper, of course, as well, who won the FA Cup with Portsmouth. He'll be telling us about his FA Cup memories and, of course, much more besides. We might mention Everton as well, who had their AGM last night, started talking an awful lot about building a new stadium. You're listening to Two Mics with me, Mike Graham, and Mike Parry on Talk Sport. This is Talk Sport. We are the Two Mics. There will be a podcast coming up in a little while. Paul sends this in, which is quite interesting.
Yes.
He says, opposite to the Everton new ground site is a hotel called the Titanic, and where some of the Peaky Blinders is filmed.
Yes, that's right.
Did you know that?
Yeah, that's absolutely right, yeah. A lot of it was filmed in Liverpool because they've still, despite John Prescott's attempt to sort of knock down half of Liverpool's beautiful streets of terraced houses, which were beautifully built. And
what do you mean? Why did he want to knock them down?
He wanted to build a load of flats instead to give people what he said was improved housing facilities. But the houses themselves were massively solid. They'd just been left to rack and ruin. But they could all been, and a lot of them were in the end, sold to people very cheaply who then rebuilt them themselves. But yes, you're absolutely right. They do film a lot of the Peaky Blinders there for the all that sort of background stuff. Yeah.
Right. Why do they film it up there, I wonder? Is that because it just looks that way?
Well, you know, in the Peaky Blinders, you know the scenes where he's strolling down the street and goes into the pub, and there's all the bellows are in the background. All that's all from the Liverpool streets because they look so.
But does that mean if Everton's ground is built in this spot, that it's where the old docks are, right?
It's on the water.
Does that mean they're going to knock all that down?
No, they won't knock down the houses and all that kind of stuff. The actual site itself is, as I understand it, a derelict former industrial land,
right?
Which they'll build on.
Oh, okay.
Which would be great.
So, I mean, what are the highlights of this AGM that you didn't manage to appear at?
Well, the highlights of the AGM were, I mean, they've been listed quite forcibly. They were talking about securing £75 million in revenue over the next 5 years from a naming rights deal for Finch Farm, which is the training ground, right? They
haven't got that already?
Well, they announced it last night, so whether it's been in discussion for a while or not, I don't know.
What I'm saying is, have they not had a sponsor for the training ground?
I don't think so, because I think that's quite unusual, isn't it? I mean, that's a modern development of the way things are. I mean, when you look at Manchester United, they've got things like quite a few clubs now have got a different sponsor for their training kit than they have for their playing kit, haven't they?
Yes.
You know, when you see them coming out with tracksuits on from the dressing room and all that, quite often the sponsor's name on that particular clothing that they wear, which they take off before they start playing, is different to the name of the sponsor on the shirt. So you've got all sorts of...
I mean, it surprises me that any team who's now in the Premier League does not have absolutely maximised every single thing that they could get a sponsor for.
I'm sure they do, but marketing must be a specialist science. I can't imagine who would put up £75 million in revenues over 5 years to put your name on a club's training ground when so rarely do TV cameras or anything like that go. I mean,
not that rarely, though.
Well, they go once a week, maybe if the manager has his press conference there, you know, ahead of the game. But does that guarantee naming opportunities every week and all that?
If you name the place,
right? I'm delighted they do it.
So it's no longer called, what is it, Finch what?
Finch Farm.
Finch Farm. I mean, instead of that, it's called something Finch Farm with a brand name, and everybody then uses it.
That's right.
You know, whenever it's referred to, then they get their money's worth.
Sure, but it's not exactly like, you know, the Emirates now has become in this country the name of a football ground, not an airline, hasn't it? That's how prominent.
The same with the Etihad.
Same with the Etihad, exactly. In fact, nobody quite knows what the Etihad means except for a football stadium. Nobody knew what else it was.
I knew it was an airline.
Yeah, well, we did. Yeah, because you know that's the world we mix in, but other people
what do you
didn't.
mean that's the world we mix in? Don't put me in the same little snobby bubble as you currently occupy.
What do you mean?
Well, no, it's not the world we live in. I've never actually travelled on Etihad Airways. Have you? No. So don't make out that that's the world we live in. No, of course you haven't.
I might have done, because I've certainly been to Qatar.
Yeah. Well, where did you fly to Qatar with?
With the England football team.
So, you wouldn't have gone on Etihad, didn't you?
Might have done. They might have sponsored it. I'm just trying to...
No, you'd have gone with British Airways, wouldn't you?
Etihad is actually... it's not Qatar, is it? Etihad is...
Abu Dhabi.
UAE. That's it.
No, it's Abu Dhabi.
Abu Dhabi. Yeah. That's UAE. United Arab Emirates, isn't it?
Well, Abu Dhabi is one of the Emirates.
Yeah, you see, you don't know the politics of the Middle East.
Yes,
that's
I do,
problem, or the geography.
Yeah, no, I do.
Anyway.
Would you want to have a test on the geography of the Middle East instead of the Beatles?
No,
You're guaranteed to get 2 out of 10.
Getting back to, as you say, the Everton AGM, I mean, what was most heartening is that Mr. Moshiri, who is our new investor, owns like half the club now, said that, from now on, the plan is for Everton not just to hang on to the coattails of the decision-making teams in this country, but to actually be one again, to get into what he said, to restore Everton to England's elite OK? And
well, your plan, which you espoused about 2 days ago on this very show, was top 4 within the next 2 years and top 1 within 3.
Well, you'd hope so.
That's what hoping so is one thing.
Yeah.
But I mean, is that what he's saying as well?
Well, no, he said he wants to return Everton to the elite, and that means that they should be a contender for the Premier League title
I think
every year, as they were in the 60s and 70s.
Having read what he said last night, I got the sense
and
that he was saying that he wanted Everton, at the very least, to be included in what is now the top 6 kind of breakaway group, which at the moment Everton is 1 below, isn't it?
Yes, I agree with that, yeah. He also said that, whilst there's a lot of affection for Goodison Park, which of course there is, and even now, I think our colleague Alan Brazil said that his favourite ground was Goodison because the atmosphere it generated and all that kind of stuff, But he said that, excuse me, we can't live in a museum. And obviously we need a bigger ground to generate more profits and give off a more sort of up-to-date image in order to progress, and everybody agrees with it.
Yeah, I mean, does anything else come up at the meeting? Because that's the only thing I've read about, really, is about what the plans are for the new stadium. I didn't really also see any timeline for it, so how long before they start building it, or 2, you could expect Everton to play in it?
You can't say. Yeah, and the reason you can't say is because these planning issues and development issues can take forever. I mean, Everton...
Well, if you look at what Liverpool did, for example, for a long time, they were talking about building a new stadium. Yeah. The old owners, Gillette and whatever his name was, were trying to
60 days to get a spade in the ground.
In the ground and all that kind of thing. And then when they finally realised that wasn't going to happen... They seem to go from making a decision not to do that to building the new stand pretty quickly, it seemed to me.
Yeah, but they were new owners, weren't they?
But what I'm saying is that they seem to be able to do what they wanted to do quite quickly.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is it was a process of elimination at Liverpool, the same way it's had to be a process of elimination at Everton. I mean, at one time, Liverpool was set to build a new ground in the middle of Stanley Park, which actually belongs to the people of Liverpool and not to Liverpool Football Club.
Well, Jed says Everton don't even own their own training ground. Well, that's a council-owned place, isn't it?
That is a completely separate issue.
So how can they sell the naming rights if they don't own it?
You'll have to go and find out what the terms of the lease are upon which the ground that Finch Farm is built.
Yeah, but surely they can't make money from something they don't own.
Well, they must be able to, otherwise they wouldn't announce it at the AGM, would they?
Well, they might have done. I mean, maybe he's not aware of that. Maybe nobody's told him.
OK, are you saying that nobody can run a business inside a property that is on leasehold rather than freehold?
Oh, no, of course you can. But what I'm saying is you may not be able to sell the name of the place as a sponsored opportunity.
Well,
because
no,
you don't own it.
That's ridiculous. Most property in this country is leasehold property, certainly in commercial and business. But when you put up your factory and you put a name on the top of it and you're trading on that name, of course you're doing it.
No, I think it's a different situation.
It's not a different situation at all.
I think you misunderstand it.
No, I don't misunderstand it. You don't understand it because, of course, you're not a
There's
sort
no
of
point
a man
attacking me just because you don't know what you're talking about.
I do know what I'm talking about.
No,
you're not well versed
no
in property, I'm afraid. You've got to remember.
Steptoe says this. I'm well versed in property. I would have had a property worth over $1 million if you hadn't left me in the lurch and run out of it.
But you see, as I was a student of property when I studied urban estate management at the University of the Trent, I know exactly what I'm talking about, and you don't.
Yeah. How about this? Aiming to turn the top 6 into a top 7 would seem to place Everton in a bit of a no man's land, says Michael. And one from Steptoe says, why doesn't Porky just own up that he's got some kind of leather fetish? # Easy Rider. This is Talk Sport. Now, the FA Cup's coming up this weekend, and there's an awful lot to do here on Talk Sport, because starting with tomorrow night, Friday night, 7:55 kick-off, West Ham, Manchester City. Saturday, we've got Man United, Reading and Preston against Arsenal, and then Everton, Leicester as well.
Yes.
Sunday, we've got, that's on Talk Sport 2, by the way. Sunday, Liverpool, Plymouth, Spurs, Villa, Chelsea, Peterborough's on Talk Sport 2, and then Monday, Talk Sport 2, Cambridge versus Leeds United, who, of course, we've just had that influx of money from that Italian millionaire, who we'll talk about in a little while.
Indeed.
Owns a big bunch of sort of sporting and TV interests. But now we're going to talk to what can only be described, I hope he doesn't mind me saying so, a veteran of the FA Cup.
And a legend.
A winner of the FA Cup, former England goalkeeper, former Aston Villa, of course, former Manchester City, loads of other teams as well, Portsmouth. David James, welcome. Very good morning, very good afternoon to you, I should say.
Yeah, I was going to say good afternoon, chaps. Not quite morning.
No. Well, I mean, we've been working all morning, so it feels like it's still the morning. But you're quite right. The sun is now over the yard arm. What are you up to prior to the FA Cup?
Well, actually, yesterday I was taking part in the Budweiser chopper launch. Sorry, forgive me.
Chopper launch?
Chopper launch.
Right. Tell us, what does that mean?
It is afternoon. It's after the watershed. The chopper launch. I mean, we've got this thing going on this weekend, which is quite fantastic, actually. The best achievers in the FA Cup will be rewarded with a crate of Budweiser.
Brilliant.
The fans. This is the fans as opposed to the players.
Yeah, well, absolutely. Let's make that clear.
Yeah. So the idea, quite simply, is that as I say, we're on standby the weekend. Whoever the top achievers are, we'll send the chopper there. I'll be on the chopper myself. We'll drop these Budweisers off for the fans to enjoy. And
when you say you're going to drop them off, I'm presuming you're going to land first, right? You don't just drop them out of the helicopter.
Yes, good point. Yeah, I mean, dropping them out unless they've got some sort of special.
Right.
Yes, no, we'll stop off. I mean, there's obviously a chance it could be Barrow, it could be Plymouth, it could be Sutton. I mean, they're sort of places that. Or the teams that we would expect that would get a good reward or a good achievement this weekend. So, yeah, I mean, that's what I've been up to. And
sure.
Other than that, just following the transfer news at the moment.
Yeah, I think that's brilliant, Dave, because this is for the first time is official recognition of the giant killer of each round, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't necessarily have to be a giant killing. It's more of an achievement because when you think about, for example, Plymouth Argyle, they've done so much travelling already. They're up at Anfield and... as much as I lived in Devon for 7 years, I have to say I would expect Liverpool to win that one.
Of course you would, yeah.
But the achievement of actually getting there and being involved and arguably even putting on a performance to remember, then that will definitely deserve a reward for the fans who have put in a lot of commitment to go and follow their team, which is what it's all about.
Well, I sometimes like looking at the draws, which are kind of almost impossible to call because you just don't know sometimes what's in the mind of some managers and what's in the mind of their team selection. But I quite like looking at things like Bristol City against Fleetwood Town, where Fleetwood have got all the way into the third round, and they're going to travel down to Bristol, and they're going to be absolutely up for it, aren't they?
Yeah, well, I mean, this is the beauty of this round. I mean, it is, of course, the final is the one that most people will watch because you'll have your winner. But when you think about the third round, it's the one that the non-league sides, the lower league sides want to get in because they want that opportunity. And I think quite often it's quite interesting when you look at the draw and when you've got the lower league managers and, like you say, Bristol City and Fleetwood, they kind of want that Premier League club for the financial reward. But you actually think to yourself, hang on a minute, if we can get through another round, as a player, every round you go through, that goes on your CV, if you like, as part of your career, especially at lower leagues. If you've never played in the fourth or fifth round, just to be able to get there and almost touch Wembley, do you know what I mean? And that's the beauty of it. And as a Welling Garden City fan, I didn't watch them this season because they were away, but last season I was watching one of the preliminary rounds of the FA Cup. And I was stood there with my mates. We haven't got seats where we stand, but I was stood there, and you're sort of thinking to yourself, do you know, if we win this one and we win a few more, and then all of a sudden we get into the third round, you never know, you could have Liverpool come down to Welling Garden City, which should be a really entertaining match, I'm sure.
Absolutely right. Now, Dave, I think I'm right in saying you played in 4 FA Cup finals. I mean, in terms of your experience in your hugely successful career, how do cup final appearances, win or lose? I think you won 1 and were runner-up in 3. How do they compare with everything else that you've done in your career?
Well, I love the cup, and I keep saying this to people, and I'm not doing it just because we're doing the interview. I mean, it's the one competition which I genuinely have fallen in love with, and I think sort of going back as a kid when I got electrocuted cutting grass and ended up watching a cup final. Sort of from that moment, it's been in my life in a big way, and I think losing finals at the time, I hated it. Absolutely hated it. I always said to myself, granted after the first 2 at least, it's not worth playing in a competition that far unless you're going to win it. And it was all about winning. Winning in 2008 was immense. And I think this sort of in line with the fans bit. It wasn't necessarily just winning the cup at Wembley on I think it was on the Saturday, whatever. Yeah. The following day when we had the open bus parade round Portsmouth, we went on to South Sea Common. Yes. And having 200,000 Portsmouth fans or Portsmouth locals at the Common. Yeah. And then you realise the impact that the football or winning the cup has on a community, and that was the thing that really struck me, rather than just winning the cup. Because let's be truthful about it, we beat Cardiff in the final. We were supposed to beat Cardiff in the final. Do you know what I mean?
Sure. No, I absolutely do. And that's I live down that way. I live in Gosport, Dave, and that's a beautiful vista, wasn't it?
In Sutton.
Yes.
I thought you lived in Sutton.
Please just shut up. You know I live in Gosport, you idiot. It's a lovely vista, isn't it, in which everybody comes out and shares that day with you, and the sea's crashing in on the beach and all that kind of stuff. Memories like that will stay with you forever.
Yeah, well, I mean, and obviously what happened to Portsmouth since then has been nothing short of dramatic, of course, with the drops down the league and whatever else. But at the same time, it's a moment that the fans will never forget, and the Portsmouth fans I still speak to now, and I'm sure they're still singing the songs at Fratton Park about the Campbell picking up the FA Cup and stuff like that. It will last you forever. As I say, as a player, yes, more than happy about winning the cup. But as I say, it was the actual days after when you realised the impact that it had, that it was fantastic. And this is essentially, as I say, the third round is the start of that dream for a lot of the sides and the lower league sides, because they get the opportunity to play higher league sides. And if they win, and there will be some upsets, I'm sure, this weekend. That dream just extends a little bit further, doesn't it?
Absolutely.
Well, there will, won't there? Because we were just talking earlier in the show about the Spurs beating Chelsea last night. It puts the Premier League back in play, the title anyway, for about 6 teams. And so you wonder whether team selection might be an issue for Chelsea. It might be an issue for Liverpool. Might be for Spurs who are playing Aston Villa. There's all kinds of permutations that could come out this weekend.
Yeah, well, I think with Liverpool for sure. I mean, if you look at Klopp's sort of MO, he's done that last season with the different cup competitions. He's already done it this season. He's not worried about using his squad, because arguably he's got a very good squad, hasn't he? So therefore he's got the trust and the faith in the players to do that. But again, I mean, funny enough, we were talking about giant killings. We were the firm underdogs in the 6th round when we went up to Old Trafford. And the interesting thing about that was Man United put their strongest side out. We sat in the change room, and when Harry's reading off this list, Ronaldo, Rooney, blah, 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 you're thinking, oh no, you're kind of hoping that they're going to chuck in a name that you've never heard of. But as soon as you realise they're the best side, you think, well, it can't get any worse. So we actually went in there more confident. When you're playing players that you're not familiar with, and Liverpool have obviously got players, as I say, which are quality but not necessarily household names, that causes more of a problem for a side, because you won't be able to do the research on them. Do you know what I mean?
I see what you mean, yeah.
As much as it might be a weaker side, in one way it'd be more difficult a task for them, I think.
And it's become a much bigger cup. I mean, it seemed like there was a couple of years when it was the FA Cup was kind of in the background and stumbling around. It seems to have had a bit of a resurgence in the last few years. Yeah,
for sure. I mean, I've been fortunate enough to do some work with the FA and with Emirates earlier on this year when we went out to Africa, went to Ghana and Kenya, and we took the FA Cup out there, and it was amazing. The response, and there was a lot of Arsenal fans there, and given that's the only thing that Arsenal have won for quite a while.
Did they want Arsene Wenger to stay or to go?
They were just buzzing. They were buzzing with the cup because they thought it was theirs a little bit, even though Manchester United. And in fact, there was a lot of Man United fans as well. Yeah. Anyway, but the point being, the cup was such a draw to so many people there, and as you can imagine, everyone wanted a photograph with it. So it's not just here in England, and as much as I'm talking about the sort of the viewers worldwide for the final itself. Yeah. I mean, the FA Cup has that sort of prestige and that nostalgia, which is global. And as I say, I mean, I love it. I love it because I've had everything involved, and also I won the Youth Cup, so it kind of added that little bit of spice as well.
And the thing is, Dave, I'm a little bit older than you, but not much. I still remember the days, of course, when I had to smuggle.
You are a youngster, though, aren't you?
Well, I'm a youngster. I'm a youngster.
He looks a hell of a lot older, though. I mean, I must say.
I'm a youngster, and I still remember the days when I would smuggle a radio into school so I could listen to the FA Cup draw every Monday morning. You know what I mean? Wow. And that's the next thing that I wish we could sort of regulate a little bit, the cup draw itself. Because for me, the cup draw, you know, the anticipation of who you're playing next is just as good as the next game. And we have to put it in all sorts of different times now, don't we? Because of the need for television to televise so many of the games. I wish we could regulate that.
Well, that's not my call, is it?
No. I'm just saying that
it's interesting. I'll have to go off one of my tangents here, and this was my for the festive period.
Sure.
You know, call us a traditionalist, but it's an English tradition, of course, because most of Europe doesn't play over Christmas.
Yeah.
But you know, the New Year's Day game, where did that go in the Premier League?
Yeah. Sure.
You know, all the games 31st, your games sort of day after that, and you just kind of, again, I suppose we have to accept that when we've got such a good product, a worldwide product, we have to give something back, and that might be their nostalgic view on how cup draw should be done or New Year's Day matches should be played. But there you go.
No, I totally agree with you.
Have a great weekend. There's loads of football coming up. David James there, great enthusiast about the FA Cup. We've got loads and loads of games. I think 5 or 6 and a couple on TalkSport 2 as well.
Yeah.
This is TalkSport. Coming up next, it's Postman Pork.
Hello, this is Tim Vine on Talk Sport. It's Mike Parry's postbag. I can't wait to see what's in there.
Postman pork, I eat my chips with just a fork, 'cause then I can still talk.
Tremendously bad jingle, that. Still probably possibly the worst one you've ever done.
No. I think it excites everybody when they hear it. They know what's coming next. Now, listen, I'm going to rush through it today.
Yeah, because I've got a lot of time.
We have got loads and loads of stuff here, and I want to thank everybody for...
The City of Culture have just appointed a new coach.
The City of Culture got a new coach. We'll talk about that in a second.
We will, yeah.
Here comes the first... I'll tell you what, let's go to New Zealand first, because that's where one of today's correspondents has come from.
Oh, okay.
And there's so much here. I'm piling through it. Right, here we go. This one is from New Zealand. Here we go, so I'm going to open it.
How do you know it's from New Zealand?
Because it says on the front that the stamp is from New Zealand.
Does it?
Yeah.
And what does the stamp show?
It says Marlborough. Now, Marlborough's big wine territory in New Zealand.
Yeah. Well, what does the stamp show? Is it sort of a vista?
No, it shows a wine field.
Oh, right.
You know,
wine field.
A vineyard. Right, here we go.
Go on.
This says it's from Ernie, Susan and Georgia.
Okay.
Or maybe from Georgia. But anyway, it's from Ernie and Susan to start off with.
From Ernie and Susan in Georgia.
And
Are you sure this is not from Georgia?
Eh?
You sure it's not from Georgia?
No. It's from New Zealand, man. It says Par Avion, International Air Freight.
Yeah.
Marlborough, New Zealand. Okay.
All right.
So it says here, dear Mr. Porky, thanks for splitting my sides with your stories. Oh, really? You are a bearded weirdo, and and I love the information you give us from your pathetic journals. Mike G, that's yourself,
yes.
Old MG.
So
Thanks
this
for
must
keeping...
be addressed to both of us then.
It says on the front the two mics, that's right, yeah.
Thank you.
It says, very Merry Christmas and Happy New Year. So
hang on.
It's taken a long time to get from New Zealand.
Card?
It's taken long, no, it's not.
You're not going to be reading out Christmas cards.
No.
It's like the 5th of January.
Yeah, plenty of bladderation, plenty of Rogerisation.
Yeah, you can't say that.
It says, the Two Mics podcasts are great. We listen to them every day and every night here in New Zealand. My wife now calls me a plank whenever she falls out with me. Thanks, MG. And that is from Ernie and Susan, who I think must come from Georgia.
Okay. You think? Georgia in sort of, the former Soviet Union?
Indeed.
Or Georgia in the southern United States?
No. Georgia in New Zealand. There is a Georgia in New Zealand. I've just
Georgia
checked it
in New
out.
Zealand?
Yeah.
Okay.
Right, okay. I'll open this one here. Wait a minute.
I don't want too many Christmas things.
No. Don't worry. No more Christmas things.
We're way past Christmas.
That's right. Here we go. So it says here, this is from it says, Mr. P and Mr. G.
Yeah.
Just wanted to write you a note to thank you very much indeed for all the laughs we're going to get in the new year from your programme. It comes from Alice near Chester.
Chester?
Oh,
near
thank
Chester?
You. Near Chester, yeah.
I wonder how near Chester.
And she sent me a picture of a car and says, here's what I imagine you'll be driving around in very soon, Porky.
What sort of car is it?
It's a great sports car, and you know what? It's a birthday card, because, of course, it was my birthday last week.
Oh, yeah? How old were you?
Doesn't matter. And it says...
is that an Audi R8 on the front?
It says Audi R8 on the front. It says, might be...
you wouldn't be able to get into one of those either.
Belated birthday wishes, but it's from Great Sutton near Chester. Great Sutton, my old mate came from there. Great Sutton's on the Wirral.
Which mate?
He's not. He's dead, unfortunately.
Is he?
Yeah, he died on a boat going into Venice.
Oh, I remember that guy. Yeah.
But he came from Great Sutton, so that's very nice indeed. Well, thank you very much indeed.
All right.
Let's get through some more of these correspondence, because there's an awful lot of it today.
There is.
In fact, I'm going to open this one now, because it's got a package. Right,
Okay.
I open it here. Oh, my God, what is this? Oh, let's open this here. My goodness me, guess what? Somebody has sent us not just a copy of my book, Rooney Tunes, not just a copy of our latest DVD, The Two Mics Live in Edinburgh, but, along with all that, a
What
T-shirt.
is that? A T-shirt?
T-shirt. Is it our T-shirt? Let's
Well,
have a look.
why are you being sent your own products?
Look at this. It's a Two Mics T-shirt.
Two Mics T-shirt,
I didn't know we printed them in red, did you?
Yeah, they're all like that.
Oh, are they? Okay, yeah, okay.
You must have signed hundreds of those.
Have I? Okay.
In various venues up and down the country.
Well, I'm delighted about that.
You didn't know what colour they were.
Now, here we go. Here's a note with it, and it says here...
What does it say?
Right, dear Mike and Mike, that's the two of us.
Yeah, that would be right.
This comes from Sam in Aylesbury.
Aylesbury?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It says, please
Where the
find enclosed...
Where
that's
the
right,
ducks come
yeah.
from.
Please find enclosed my DVD, my shirt, and your best-selling Rooney Tunes book.
Best-selling.
Could you please sign and return them to me? Obviously, the best-selling author, Porky Parry, can sign his literary masterpiece. I'm writing this to you in the hope that you will return them to me. It is a recognition of the hours of joy you have brought me. Yes.
Could you read it any worse?
Yes, and he says, hopefully...
It is a recognition of the joy you have brought me. What are you doing? This in a Dalek voice.
Hopefully I'll meet you both at a live show one day. Keep up the fantastic work. Yours, Matt. Well,
so what does he want me to sign anything?
I have no idea. I mean, as long as I sign, nobody really cares.
I think he wants you to sign the book.
Well, obviously, because I wrote the book. You've never written a book, of course. So
I've written loads of books, but I've just never had them published because I've never felt that they were up to the right standard. You, of course, don't care about standards. You publish it.
No, you never had them published, mate, because they were just rubbish from start to finish.
Incorrect.
Right, here's one here from Coventry.
Coventry?
And the sender is... well, I don't know who the sender is, but it's from Coventry. So
you don't know who the sender is?
Well, I haven't opened it yet.
Has it got a return address on it?
Hang on. Opening it.
Did you get a move on, by the way?
Yeah, but I had, yeah. There's lots to get through.
Is this another present? Another gift?
It says here, to pork chop. So that's a term of affection. I
know who this is from.
Yeah.
There's only one person calls you pork chop.
I think it might be our young friend. Right, money can't buy you happiness, but it sure is nicer being miserable in a Ferrari or a Merc. And that comes from Julia and Ian.
Yeah. Those are the guys I did the karaoke singing with.
That's right. Yeah. And she says...
the guy who said I had a superb voice.
Belated birthday wishes. Relax and enjoy your life because you are my pork chop. And that's Julia. Thank you, Julia. You are a wonderful lady and we love you to bits.
Mitchell is actually saying, is this segment all about Porky sending fan mail to himself?
No.
Do any of these people actually exist?
What do you think my name is? Mr. Bean. Right, here we go. There's one here. Right.
Mr. Has-Been.
It says here, this is Kathy from Telford. She says, just a little recognition to you chaps to say thanks for reading my text out, in particular the text for my 60th, which was last month. You read it out for me, and you are my favourite people. Mike Graham, Mike Parry, two Mikes, best wishes.
Why do you have to read all that out?
From one of your most loyal fans.
You'd get through a lot more of them if you didn't just keep reading out the praise.
No. Now,
Steptoe says, are all these letters of praise to Porky the same handwriting?
No, not at all. Now, there's one here which is actually, I'll show it you specifically.
Actually?
Postman Pork.
Oh, Postman Pork.
It's addressed to, so it's not addressed to the two Mikes, anything like that. This is one which is deliberately recognising the value that I give to the show and to TalkSport in this particular role of mine. What does this say? It says sign up to Gift Aid, right, with Oxfam. Yeah. So I'll give that to MG because he's...
well, you're the guy that likes to give money to charity, aren't you?
He's always a man who... right, now then, it says here, dear Mr. Parry, this is directed to me, obviously.
Yeah, well, this is directed to you. You're supposed to sign up to it.
I have been a big fan of your work on radio for many years. I love your simply bizarre take on life. You're a very strange man. That's a bit counter.
Well, you are a very strange man.
I don't know how Mr. Graham puts up with you with your weird little ways. I haven't got any weird little ways, thank you. My heart goes out to Mr. Graham. Love the show very much. Keep up the great work. You are legends. And that comes from... who's this from? Excuse me. I do think that you will need a bit of a spelling lesson, please, whoever you are, because I can't find the name. Because you've said, may you both reign supreme in 2017, but reign is spelled...
why has he sent a gift aid card?
I don't know. Reign is spelled R-A-I-N.
Right. Mm-hmm. Well, that's just the way some people spell rain. Some people, you don't want to pick them up on getting the words spelt wrong.
And this correspondent also says, I wouldn't describe you two as lagerlouts. I would say you are more like sagerlouts. Ha, 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 ha. So that's very funny. Thank you very much.
It's not that funny.
Trouble is, it just says the
name or gifts.
The only name is the Commander, so I'm not sure what that is. Right, there's a gift here.
Is that not the guy you know down in the sailing club?
No, that's the Commodore.
Oh, right.
Yeah, the Commodore is my friend down on the coast. Right, now I'm opening this one.
I've only got time for one more, I think.
I'm opening this one.
Yeah.
And there's some sort of a present attached to it. Let's get this out of the way. Find out what the present is first. Yeah, that's always more important to me than the card, particularly if it's valuable. I might even be able to pawn it this afternoon if it's something I don't want. Let me have a look here.
Yeah, but normally speaking, you don't like to open things unless there's something horrible nasty in there.
No. It feels a bit soft. I'm not sure it is. It might be chocolate or something, yeah. Right, hang on. I've got it. I'm opening it.
What is it?
I'm just going to tell you. It's, don't know, it's very well wrapped up, though.
You think you should have brought some scissors in?
No, I'm losing the will to live here because it's so wrapped up.
You're not the only one.
So I've got to move on because there's too much else.
Why can't you open it?
Well,
give it to me.
Well, it needs even more opening, you know.
What do you mean even more opening?
Wrapper after wrapper. Right, you open that and I'll open this one here. This is another one for the two Mikes. It says from the original famous
Finn. It's a piece of Turkish delight. There you go.
Piece of Turkish delight.
Fact, 2 pieces of Turkish delight.
That's very kind of you, but I'm sorry, I can't eat that because I always suspect...
You think it's been poisoned?
I always suspect it might have been injected with cyanide. Just have a go at me.
Popular.
Here we go. This comes from Finn.
Finn, the boy Finn.
Is it the boy Finn?
Yeah.
The original famous Finn. 13 years old, foot size 7. Well, thank you very much indeed, Finn. Just read a bit of your note out.
Bigger feet than you.
It says, I was surprised to hear a letter I sent you in the summer was only read out last week in Porky's postbag. Well, that's because we get such a volume of mail. It says, I now eagerly seek Mr. Parry's further guidance in my quest to emulate his great success by helping me select my GCSE options, OK?
Yeah. Yes.
It says history versus geography, design tech versus art, and PE versus music. Which would you pick? OK, I'll tell you what it is, Finn. Do history instead of geography. Do art instead of design tech, and study John Constable in particular, and do PE instead of music, because that'll keep you healthy and hearty, and you grow up to be a big and efficient and strong person like me, OK?
Well,
one last one here.
No, there isn't time for another one.
There's got to be. We can't let anybody down. I'm going to keep opening even if we go off air, OK? Yeah?
Well, you're just going to keep on opening them.
No, here, another one here.
Right.
Oh, look at this. It's a communication from somebody connected to Everton Football Club. Because it's got an Everton logo on the top. It says, thank you for keeping me sane during my successful 9-month battle with leukemia, from Simon Chamberlain. Simon,
all the best, Simon.
It is absolutely our pleasure to try and help those who get a bit of pleasure from what we say. So well done, and hope the battle with leukemia will go as well for the rest of your life. Thank you very much indeed to everybody who sent us a note this week. Don't forget, you can keep sending your correspondence in, and we'll be here to read it this time next week.
Trevor says, Paul, he sounds rather out of breath with all this blowing of his own trumpet this morning. Yeah,
well,
it's true.
We
may have to change the elements going on here. But that was a Postman Pork. This is TalkSport.
Now then, you are, of course, listening to the Two Mics. We're here on TalkSport. We are with Wix. If you get your home nice and cosy this winter, you can do it with 30% off all single-panel universal radiators at Wix.
Absolutely right. Now, coming up right after us at 1 o'clock is Hawksby and Jacobs. Over on our sister stations, you can hear John Holmes on Talk Radio and Kate Lawler on Virgin. Don't forget, over on TalkSport 2 from 8 p.m. this evening, we bring you live commentary of the Copa del Rey last 16 first leg clash between Athletic Bilbao, I should say, and Barcelona, or Barcelona, as you like to say. Now, I'd also like to say that the giveaway that we have every day here on TalkSport with Wix, £100 of a gift card to the best callers. Today's winner is Rob, the Sunderland fan.
That's right. I thought it was very well deserved as well. Yes, thank you.
Well, we'll have another one to give away tomorrow.
I have to say that
which, of course, will be the end of the week.
Yes, it will be. The contribution that our correspondents make to this show is immense, and we place a very high value on it.
Yes.
So keep calling, folks, OK?
Absolutely
And, of course, we're getting to the end of a week, which is very, very exciting for me, because the FA Cup third round starts tomorrow night. Can you believe that?
West Ham, Manchester City.
Yes.
Well, we'll talk a lot about that tomorrow. As I say, I've got a little surprise for you with your local team. But,
have you really?
I can't say too much about it at the moment. Don't want to say too much about it at the moment, really.
Yeah.
But,
you say too much about most things anyway, to be honest,
Well, yeah, but... we've got loads and loads of live football coming up over the next few days.
Yep, we have.
Well, let's see. Let me count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. As many as 8 live commentaries going on.
That's not bad at all, is it?
West Ham, Manchester City, Man United, Reading, Preston, North End, Arsenal, Everton, Leicester. I'm not going to ask you this today. Liverpool, Plymouth, Spurs, Villa, Chelsea, Peterborough, Cambridge, Leeds. Some of those on TalkSport too. I mean, there's bound to be one giant killing at least over the weekend.
Well, when you look at those fixtures, there's not an obvious one. Do you see what I mean? And that's why it'll come out of the blue. It'll come out of left field or something like that. So I think it will be a top team with a middle-ranked team rather than league and non-league. You know what I mean?
Yes, I see what you mean. Yeah. Well, this is why I say I quite like Fleetwood and Bristol City.
Yes,
because it's that kind of area, isn't it?
The only problem there, with no disrespect to Bristol City, is that most people say, well, I'm not sure which league Bristol City are in, and therefore did Fleetwood do a good job or not? You know what I mean?
Who are you's playing as well?
Who are you?
Yeah, taking on Blackburn Rovers.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
Down at Loftus Road.
Yeah.
We'll see. He's had a couple of wins in the championship.
The FA Cup is viewed two ways by managers. It's either viewed as a break from the intensity of their league travails, i.e., trying to stay at the top or trying to avoid going down at the bottom, or it's seen as a blinking nuisance. and good opportunity to rest
But the
players.
fans always like it, don't they?
Fans love it. The fans love it. And
but also, do they not have to have a bit of a sort of? They have to have an eye on the fans in a way, because you don't want to upset the fans too much. For example, if you're a Swansea fan,
yes,
and you're going to travel all the way to Hull for that game, right?
Yes.
To see whether or not you're actually going to...
which is a hell of a journey.
Which is a hell of a journey, yeah. But, I mean...
You don't want to turn up and watch a reserve team come out and defend your honour in the FA Cup competition, do you?
And, I mean, that really is the battle of the newest managers in the Premier League, isn't it?
Yeah, and by the way, what a journey
Paul
that is.
Clement, and you've got the new man.
Yeah.
Silva. You don't know his name yet?
Yeah, Silva.
Remember his name?
It's Silva.
Because he might end up being great.
Yeah, I mean, most people think that when you get to sort of Wales, you get to Cardiff, that's it. But Swansea is way beyond that, isn't it?
It's a long way.
Travelling from here.
Yeah.
So coming from Swansea, those fans, they've got to go down that M4 from Swansea to Cardiff.
Well, they've got to get from Swansea into the M5, really, haven't they?
That's right.
And then head up towards Birmingham.
That's right, absolutely. Do they go over a bridge? No, they don't go over a bridge, do they?
Well, they will if they're in a coach, yeah.
No, hang on.
The Severn Bridge.
Hang on. Oh, that's right, yeah, to get into England.
Unless they go on a train.
No.
Because you famously went to Wales on a train.
I did, yeah.
And asked the inspector, where's the river?
That's right. But you're absolutely right. Then you turn left, go up the M5, and then you've got miles to go beyond that, because you've got to get onto the M62 and then turn right and go to Hull.
Well, you could go that way, or surely,
massive journey.
Surely you would cut across the Midlands in the M69 triangle, wouldn't you, and go up the M1?
Or
to get to Hull, wouldn't you?
Or you could come in on the M4 to the M25.
No, you see, you always
and
say
go
that.
round to the A1.
No, that's the worst idea.
And then up the A1 to the M62, and then turn right into Hull.
That's like, instead of driving if you imagine if you had a right-angled triangle, which came from Hull down to London and then across to Swansea and back up.
Yes.
It's like driving the two long ends of that triangle instead of driving across the diagonal.
Yeah, but the roads are so pathetic in the middle of this country that you might be better off doing it.
No, the M25 is to be avoided at all times.
Well, I'll tell you what else you could do. What you could do, actually, is you could go as far...
I really notice you've got the worst directional sense of anyone at Talk Sport.
I haven't. You could go as far as, like, the Midlands motorway, which is... the motorway to the Midlands, which is like... Is that the A34, is it? Like, it's... I know it's not a motorway. It's
the A34?
Yeah, but
I don't know.
It's an A34M type job, which takes you up to sort of Birmingham and then sort of, press on from there, so to speak, I suppose.
Right.
But it's a long journey. It's a very long journey. When you get there, you hope that your team are putting out a full... I want my team to have a great FA Cup run. I want Everton to have a really
you say that every year. You say that every year, and every year they don't have one.
Yeah.
But they should get past Leicester, but they might not. It depends. I mean, are Everton going to put out a decent team?
Of course.
Are they?
Everton realise that we're probably not going to win the Premier League this season. In fact, obviously we're not. But I can tell you...
It's a 3 o'clock kickoff. You could go, couldn't you?
No.
Why not?
Because we work here until
12.
Week,
but this week we're only going 10 till 12.
10 till
the
12.
Early kickoff.
Yeah, just remind everybody, the warm-up on Saturday, folks, 10 till 12.
So you could get from here to Liverpool in 3 hours?
Rubbish.
What do you mean rubbish?
How?
Well, there's any number of ways you can do it.
Concorde.
But the train takes 2 hours.
The train takes 2 hours and 35 minutes or something like that.
No, it's 2 hours.
2 hours 15. So if I got...
We just did it recently.
Hang on, we've got train 12:30, 2:30, 2:45.
You could get there.
Providing nothing went wrong.
With the influence that you have at Everton, I'm sure you could get somebody to pick you up at Lime Street Station and get you to the ground.
Providing nothing went wrong on the train journey, providing that, there was a black cab at Lime Street at the other end, because I wouldn't seek any special favours, providing we get into the ground on time.
Well, I mean, you say it's your favourite day of the year. Surely you want to do it.
I'd love to do it, but I think it might just be a bit too rushed. And also, I like to do a bit of meet and greet before the game, with other people. You know what I mean? Yes. I
meet and drink, you mean?
No, excuse me.
Now, I've got some bad news for you.
What's that?
Because one of our followers, Mr. Wolfie, has included Vinnie Jones in a tweet. He says, worst player to play the top flight, according to Mike Parry. So I think you better await some problems.
Well, no. Come on, that was only a statement. I mean, I don't know anybody should be getting upset about that sort of thing. You know what I mean? I mean, a bit of banter, really. But I think Vinnie Jones lives in California. Doesn't he?
He does. He's got at the top of his Twitter. He's got a thing from FurnitureNews.net. I don't know whether this is a spoof.
FurnitureNews.net.
So Vinnie Jones to attend furniture show.
Really?
What does that mean?
I don't know. Is that what Vinny does these days?
I don't know.
Attend furniture shows?
I don't know.
Not sure.
But there's a lot of... I'll tell you what's on his Twitter is an awful lot of his tackles, which are quite remarkable. And I think if you want to get yourself injured, this is the man. You should go on Vinnie Jones. In fact, I'm going to follow him. and I'm going to inform him that you think he's the worst footballer ever played, ever in the top.
I mean, the point is, I'm not a professional footballer, so there's no way in the world Vinnie Jones and I could ever end up in the same arena because he's not a broadcaster, I'm not a footballer. So
I'm not talking about on a football pitch.
Yes.
I'm talking about when you see him somewhere in a social situation. How about this? Andy says, as a truck driver, I find Porkmaster's directions hilarious. Don't go into the sat-nav business, Porky.
Yeah, well, you don't need to, do you? If you've got a sat-nav, it takes you where you want to go, or most normally it does.
Yeah,
if you
well,
program
not if it's
it
in your
properly.
car. Anyway, we're very nearly coming to an end of the show.
Certainly are.
Hawksby and Jacobs coming up next.